getting drunk in the Old Testament, even though this man is a righteous man and God selected him to build the ark. But we can see like that by itself might not look bad, but when we compare it to the Quranic narrative of Noah actually mourning his son instead instead of cursing his son, like the other in the Old Testament, when he's on the ark, he actually curses his son while drunk, right? And in the
He's not
Quran,
on
he
the ark when
actually
that
instead.
happens.
No, he did according to that narrative. So if we compare
No,
many
no.
of these narratives,
I've mentioned this
yeah,
He's
already,
not
Zach.
on the
I've
ark when
mentioned
that
this already.
happens.
yeah. So if the Quran is a false book, it doesn't make sense to me that this book would kind of like filter more and make it more moral when already the men of God, men of chosen from God, would already be moral in the original respective book.
So Zach, the only reason that you believe that the Quran is better than the Bible is because the Bible doesn't is actually honest with the lives of their prophets, while the Quran tries to brush it up
No,
and change history
no,
and make it look good. Again, it presupposes that you believe that the Quran is perfect and that the Quran is already the
no, not
standard.
really.
If
Even
you're going, no,
no,
hold
no,
up,
no.
because this is I didn't here,
Yeah,
Zach. Look, the only reason why you're even comparing the two is because you believe that the Quran is from God. Therefore, anything that disagrees with the Quran and apparently makes the prophets look bad apparently can't be from God, which is not the very standard. Because the Old Testament, the Jews who had the Torah and the Injil before you never had a problem with these texts. They realized that even though these men were righteous, they fell into sin, which is the
They had a
entire
problem.
point. That there
that
is
is
no
true.
one
I
on
agree with you.
earth
Yeah.
save how much if that there is no one on earth save Yeshua HaMashiach, the son of David, who is without sin. The Psalms say that. There is no one on earth who has never sinned. Therefore, we need God to save us from our
Yeah,
sins.
okay.
It's the point of the sacrificial system. It's the point of it's the point of looking towards the Messiah. God saw that no man was able to save, so his own arm brought salvation. To say
I
that
understand your point.
the Old Testament is corrupted because it disagrees with what the Quran says is in complete denial of the narrative of the Old Testament and the narrative of the very prophets themselves.
Right.
Oh, wait.
In
Real quick, if I may.
you said Black Doctor.
Real quick.
You said
Let Hunter
there's
speak. I
there's
want to give
nowhere.
you
Hold
guys to
on,
speak.
wait. Hold on, Bob. You gotta give the floor to Zach, man. Let Zach take over a little bit.
You've
Yeah,
said
I'll give
enough,
it to
Robert.
Hunter. He has something to
Yeah.
say. I like to hear what he says. He has some good perspectives and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
well,
he said, yeah, the Christians and the Jews have never
Yeah.
had a problem with their right.
Bob. I
Who's
didn't know your name
talking?
was. I didn't know your name
Yeah.
was Hunter. I didn't know your
Oh,
name was
sorry.
Hunter.
I thought you wanted me
hey,
to speak. Sorry.
first off, who changed my
Why you
name?
call Bob Kafir now? You
Hey,
call this a
like,
Bob Kafir or
like,
something.
can you change my name, please? Because I'm not happy with that.
I
Yeah,
didn't do
somebody
it.
changed my things to some things New Testament. What's going on with that?
Hey, mine wasn't changed. I survived.
Anyways, so I was actually going to bring up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hang on 1 second. Sorry, I was getting Okay. Anyways, no, because what was being brought up was I saw John 16 up. I didn't know how in depth that has gone. So I was trying to kind of go back to that, but hang on just 1 second because I'm getting a phone call. Hang on 1 second.
Okay.
How do you change the name? Oh yeah, I think I'm changing it now. I don't
You
like
can do
this,
it on your
man.
own.
This is ridiculous, man. But Black Doctor, you said the Christians and the Jews have no history of this saying that their book has got a problem. If you read Jeremiah
I never
8,
said that our book has got problems. I said that our prophets weren't sinless.
No, we agree with you 100%, man. But what we're saying is that some of them actually appear to be mockery of the prophets. Like even like like a lot of them to me. I don't know, not
Mockery?
from your perspective.
How are they
Yeah, some of them.
mockery?
honesty about what these people did is mockery.
Not mockery, but it looks kind of exaggerated if you look
But
at it.
wait,
I
hold
guess
up,
I
hold up, Zach,
understand. No,
hold
no.
up, Zach.
Okay,
You
can I make my
use
point?
the term
Yeah.
mockery. How many times are you going to use a term and then when I respond back, you immediately draw back to it?
Okay,
You're
I'm back.
contradicting
All
yourself.
right, he's back now. Let him
But,
speak.
No, no. I
anyway,
know.
Hunter, you were going to say?
It looks
Yeah.
like it's not, whatever.
So question about John 16. I don't know how in depth you guys went in with that.
Not much at all.
Okay, because was that one of the arguments that was brought up about
Well,
Muhammad?
it was Bob's argument about
Okay.
about Muhammad apparently being prophesied. And
Yes, yes, I believe in it.
Okay. Real quick.
No, no. Let's not go back
No,
there,
Zach,
Bob.
leave
You're
it,
gonna go in
leave it.
circles.
Because yesterday you said Mount Sinai is not in Arabia, and today I've shown some evidence. I know what I'm talking about. Something.
no,
I know,
and
Avery. I know.
you're
Dude,
still wrong.
stop, Bob.
And it's
Don't
funny
embarrass us,
because you
bro.
try
Embarrassing
and
people,
it's
bro.
and it's even funnier because you tried to use the Apostle Paul in Galatians to say that Sinai is in Arabia, and then immediately when Life quotes Paul, you want to throw him under the bus.
I've always,
Don't
if it
hold
matches,
up, hold up, Bob, hold up, Bob, hold up,
if it
Bob.
matches with
Because
Islam,
because you're
I'll
Bob, hold up, man. Because of your misuse, I'm going to have to tell you my one rule. And I don't really tell people my one rule unless you really get under my skin. Because what you've done is you've thrown Paul under the bus. This is the same thing that you do with the Islamic scholars. And I tell you what, I'm going to tell you my one rule. Nobody, and I mean nobody, gets to throw Allah, Muhammad, or the scholars, or even the Apostle Paul under the bus. If anybody is going to throw them under the bus, it's going to be me. It's going to be me. So what you going to do, man, is you're going to have to deal with the forces honestly. Honestly.
right. Black Doctor. Okay, no problem. Who's that? I thought the other guy was gonna speak. NT.
Yeah,
Hey,
Hunter,
one
you
second. Let me say some. Luke and Cool. I'll let you guys back in a little bit later. Let me clear the airways back here in the back chat. I think I got maybe one or two Muslims trying to get in. Go ahead, yo.
Can you guys hear me?
I just got here.
Yeah, Hunter, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry, it's just I'm about to get a phone call, so that's why I had to take my camera off. But anyways, I'll just deal with that here. So I was because John 6. I was wanting to bring it up to John 16, if that's okay. But
Yeah,
people
that's
are.
fine.
Well, I know Bob, that's okay with you. You're the one that brought it up. I was trying to figure out what the rest of the crew first.
I'm
Everybody else, I mean, are you guys okay if I
I'm
talk
cool
about this
with
for a
it.
second? Because
I'm cool with it.
specifically, I do know that there is a verse that refers to because this is typically the argument that I hear from Muslims when it comes to John 16, that Muhammad is prophesied or talked about in John 16. That Ahmed in Arabic means the praised one. And interesting enough, when a lot of people talk about that talk about the Greek. And actually, okay, Surah 9, 116. Is that what it is? Cool. Let me get it real quick. Because maybe that's what I'm talking about. Surah 9, 116. Anybody want to get it?
116.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's the one.
What's the particular verse again, man? What's
I'm just trying to see.
supposed to be said within it?
Surah Tawbah.
Oh, I'm in Surah 11. Whoops. Let me go to Surah
No,
9.
Surah 9 is Surah Tawbah.
Well, yeah,
The
but
story.
hang on. Just let me look at it real quick. Indeed, O God.
Is
Okay.
this about the Ahmed
What
comment?
verse is it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hang on, Bob. So let me ask you this, Bob. What is the Hebrew word for praised one? No, not Hebrew. I'm sorry, Arabic.
Arabic. It's praise can be Hamdi, you
Mhm.
know,
What does
could
it
be
use for
Muhammad.
Muhammad?
Yeah, I mean the name Muhammad means praiseworthy. Yeah.
Right.
And Hamdi as well can mean praiseworthy. Ahmad praiseworthy. So yeah, there's
Mhm.
many of them.
So the question is what is the Greek equivalent of the word Ahmed? Praise one.
I don't know. I mean, I've heard some people say Parakletos and stuff. I don't know that one. I'm not sure.
You'd be wrong.
I've heard people say it's Parakletos or something like that.
You'd be
Yeah,
But I'm
wrong.
not
so
sure.
yeah, Bob, so that's actually the argument that Muslims make to reference Muhammad in this text. That's exactly what it is.
But I'm not.
However,
I'm not bringing that argument, Hunter. It's not me
no,
bringing up that.
I know. But I'm letting you know this is the reason why people believe that Muhammad is in John 16 because of that alone. That's
No,
what brings. I no,
Yes.
no. In
Bob, hang on, Bob, hang on.
yeah,
I'll
go
show
on.
you why. I'll show you why.
Dawa denial.
Let me share my screen real quick. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
You see my screen right here? You said what was it? You said Parakletos, right? Or in
Yeah,
like that's what
I've
you're.
heard people say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is why because the Greek word for praise one they say is Parakletos, which right here it actually reads Parakleton because it has the accusative form there in the Greek, which it just
Yeah.
anyways. So ironically, praise one in the Greek is not Parakleton. So what happens is the paraclete is Muhammad, Parakleton, Parakletos, Paraclete. But that's actually not the Greek word for praised one or Muhammad. What it actually is, and Black Doctor, back me up here. What is the Greek word for praised one?
I know it's not Parakletos because Parakletos just means helper. Poulos.
Right.
Polus.
Parakletos
Hmm.
versus Perikletos.
Right.
Literally, just the difference in the vowel sound alone. Just that one vowel makes the difference in the wording.
Right.
So, what Muslims tend to argue is that Parakletos is not original. They believe that, oh, the text has been corrupted, that the text actually originally read
Parakletos.
Parakletos, not Perikletos. And so you have a corrupted text. However, when I look up and I'm going to reshare my screen here in a second.
What, John 14:16 in its textual history?
Actually, no, John 67, the same exact.
Yeah,
Was that
John
the same verse?
67. Yeah. Yeah, there's no textual variant here.
Because I have it pulled up right here. If Life wants to let me share my screen real quick.
No. You can't give us.
Come on, man. Spitting fire. All right, let me take this out real quick. Where is it?
We don't want sources. Just say trust me, bro.
Trust me, bro.
Sachiel, trust me, bro.
Where is it? Here it is. Parakletos. Right here. Here it is right here. Parakletos. That's what it says in the Greek. And if you look
intercessor, helper.
all the way back to the very beginning, earliest manuscripts we have, it all says Parakletos from every strand, every stream that we have. So all of these streams right here all contain Parakletos.
All the papyri, all the majuscules, all the minuscules,
So,
all the codices.
So when it comes to John 16, verse 7,
Yeah.
the argument comes from the idea that it originally reads Parakletos, not Perikletos, because Parakletos is the Greek word for praised one or praised. Praised one.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what it says in the Greek. So if Ahmed is the word that should be found in John 16, then we should see it found here in John 16, the equivalent for Ahmed, because that's what Muslims have been arguing. Yet there is no Greek equivalent for Ahmed in John 16. So therefore, the original idea that this is talking about Muhammad is based on a false reading of the Greek. So it's not about Muhammad. It's not about a praised one. It's about the comforter that Jesus sends to his disciples the day, like they're still alive. They will be, and the comforter will be with them and in them and forever with them everywhere they go at all times.
Okay.
That's not Muhammad, because Muhammad's not in them. He's not with them at that time. He's not going around everywhere they're at. So it's not talking about Muhammad in any way, shape, or form. Even the original arguments that you're, of course, not familiar with, which I grant, but still, that is the reason. That is honestly the original reason why Muslims believe that Muhammad is prophesied in John 16. That is the reason why, and it's completely false.
Okay.
So John 16, so John 14 through 16 is not in any way, shape, or form talking about anybody else.
You know,
Okay.
the argument actually comes, I believe, from Ibn Ishaq.
Can I respond, please?
Yeah, Ibn Ishaq in his Sirah quotes John. He quotes the Paracletus saying that it's about Muhammad.
Right.
Okay,
Exactly.
right.
That's where it
And
comes.
that's
Yeah,
completely false.
yeah. So Bob, after you respond,
Yeah.
I want to see if one of these. I want to see if one of these other guys has an objection against the Quran, because
Yeah, okay, yeah.
it's been
So,
an hour. Yeah, we don't want to go 2 hours on this one topic, bro.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
We
So, you're saying this is what Muslims object. That is true. There are some Muslims who object to it, but I'm not bringing up this argument. So we'll chuck this argument in the bin for now. Okay. Now the reason why I know. Hang on, bro. I didn't interrupt you, did I? Okay. Now the reason why I know that Jesus spoke about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's in Surah 61, Surah As-Saf, verse 6. Where it says, and remember when Jesus, the son of Mary, said, O children of Israel, I am truly Allah's messenger to you, confirming the Torah which came before me, and giving you good news of a messenger to come after me, whose name shall be Ahmad. This is where I get this idea from. Jesus prophesied Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? So I'm not gonna go with Paracletos. Other Muslims use it, but you're talking to me today. So I'm going to use this verse here to say that Jesus, yes, has spoken about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Let me ask you this though: when it comes to the Quran literally refers to Ahmed that can be found in the Injil, in the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
Where
Apparently,
is that?
this is what Jesus himself said. His name shall be Ahmed. So where is Ahmed in the New Testament?
Where does he say that? I mean, it says Jesus. Hang on. It says Jesus prophesies him by the name Muhammad. Okay. Now we're not saying the exact statement of Jesus, what he said, is that has to be there like what the Quran says. We're saying it.
So the Quran is not directly quoting Jesus.
Oh my God!
Hold on a second, but Bob, hold on. But this is the point though, where it talks about, and this is where Muslims make the argument that Ahmed is actually in the New Testament of today, where Jesus talks about the Paraclete. That's where this argument comes from, because Ahmed, if you literally translate Ahmed into Greek, it comes out to what I was referencing before about the Parakletos, or about the Paraclete, not the Paraclete. So that's where the argument comes from. That's why people bring up these verses. This is where it originates from. And that's what I'm saying. If it refers to sorry?
Look, Hunter, right? I respect you, right? But stop using the Paracleto and that, okay? For me, it's not about that. For me, hang on.
Ahmed means.
For me, yeah, I believe Jesus spoke about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam multiple times, not just once, not just this one in the Quran, not just this one in the Quran.
Huh? Okay, where?
Where
did Jesus speak in the New Testament about Muhammad?
I've just shown you like John 14, where Jesus demonstrated that, and I'm showing you John 16:7, where it says, "If I don't go away, the Comforter will not come." And we know the Holy Spirit was there with Jesus. So how could it be the Holy Spirit when Jesus said, "If I don't go away, this Spirit of will not come, Comforter will not come." So you guys are contradicting yourself within your own book.
No, Not at
Yes,
all.
you are.
I will send
Hang on,
him
Black
to
Doctor.
you, Bob.
Yeah, anything we say that doesn't align with Bob is a contradiction.
Right.
Well,
So
Right. Yeah, hold on. Hold on. Yeah, no, this not gonna go nowhere. Bob is not gonna understand it. Further of all, he's gonna have to disagree that the Father and Jesus sent him Muhammad, right?
Muhammad.
Who you ask
Mhm.
him who sent Jesus, he's gonna say Allah. It's the Father
Yeah,
or
but
Jesus in the first place. So it's not gonna go anywhere. Let's bring up a different objection to the Quran because I
Right.
know this isn't gonna go anywhere, bro. Black
live,
Doctor
live,
Yeah,
already
you
asked
guys are going
a
in
question and
circles,
he ran
Bob.
from it. It's gonna go in
yo, live,
circles.
live. You love,
Tell
you
you
love.
what, this is worse than Safraz. Like I'd rather deal with Safraz than this.
What happened to Safraz? Where is
Yeah,
he
what
now?
happened to him?
We don't even know.
Some fries.
He's from
World may
England,
never
isn't he?
know.
He's from England.
Yeah, I think he's from London.
No, he's not. He's from the north of England.
I know the English are better than this. The English are not sending their best.
Well, I'm not
They
English,
need,
by
they,
the way.
they need to send Mimi and Ali Doe.
Oh yeah, are you sure about that, David Wood? Are you sure
I
about that?
promise you, I will genuinely. I wrote him a whole email at 17. I will go toe to toe one day with Muhammad Hijab and defeat him. Trust me.
Bro, that's not a good idea.
Sig
Right?
or Sig did it
Why
already.
not?
We
Let's
know.
challenge and let's expose that hyper arrogant persona he likes to put on.
Your best,
Hey,
your
But he
best.
Caleb.
destroyed him.
Either way.
So Caleb, do you have an objection against Islam? You got something you want to bring up about the Quran?
At the moment, I do not know.
I do.
Go
Go
on,
ahead,
doctor.
Black Doctor.
Yeah, sure. This is one we already know, and it's a popular one. It's still, I think, one of the best arguments. Number one, the crucifixion of Jesus. All
Right.
other sources in history, all reliable sources in history, make the infallible claim, the unanimous claim
Surah
that
4
Jesus
verse,
Christ died on the cross.
Surah 4 verse, trust me, bro.
Right, exactly. And the only verse, only text that we have to contradict it is Surah 4 157 that says, and the Jews say and boast, we killed the Messiah, Jesus, the messenger of Allah, the son of Mary, which no Jew would say that they killed their Messiah. But in fact, it says they did not kill him, nor did they crucify him, but it was made to appear to them. And those who are in disagreement, those who differ, have no knowledge about it. They are full of conjecture, but of a surety they killed them not. But those who actually disagree with the Quran and say that Jesus Christ died on the cross are unanimous in their proclamation. There is no differing on this issue. There is no differing on this issue. It's a unanimous consensus. However, those who deny that Jesus Christ was crucified are filled with much conjecture. For example, listen to any of the tafsir of Surah 4 157. There are multiple theories as to apparently what happened to Jesus. And even worse, who was put on the cross instead of Jesus. And that's only one theory. Some other Muslims affirm the swoon theory or many other theories. So Islamic apologists are full of conjecture about how to answer the historic fact that Jesus Christ died on the cross. However, when it comes to the Christians, the Jews, the atheists, and everyone else, even Bart Ehrman says, it is a consensus that if we know anything about Jesus, is that he was crucified under Pontius Pilate.
Trust me, bro.
Right. Okay. So
Well, I can answer this, Bob. Bob, because you've been talking for a lot, bro, and you've been basically saying nothing. No disrespect. Okay,
go on, no
so how would
problem.
I?
Go on.
So
So,
Go on, Zag.
right, they usually deny any supernatural event, right? So it would technically be true because how would you disprove the fact that someone made it look like Jesus? Like basically because they deny his supernatural things. So even if that happened, it looks like it 100%. So they would go by how it appears so.
It's not how it appeared, bro. It literally is an event that happened, bro.
right. So here, even if we allow that, Zach, who made it appear so?
No.
It technically doesn't have to be Allah who made it appear so, because we
So
do
who
know
so
there was
who-
another
so who
guy called
made it-
Jesus with
so who
Jesus.
made
So
it
how do
appear
we
so?
not know they got mixed up, bro?
There was another guy named Jesus with Jesus.
So who
Yeah,
made it
Jesus
appear so?
Barnabas.
Wait, hold
Jesus
up.
Barnabas?
Hold
Jesus
up.
Barnabas. Yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
guys, hold up. You guys are going way too far. Let's just analyze what he just said. Apparently, there is another person with the exact same name as Jesus
It's
and who
actually true.
looks literally exactly like him. Exactly like him.
We don't have to say
Even
exactly, but we're saying that
even though Barabbas is a zealot and he was in prison for being rebellious, and everybody knows him, so much so that when they bring Jesus Barabbas and Jesus of Nazareth to the crowd, they can easily distinguish between each one and cry out specifically to free Jesus Barabbas.
the thing
But
is,
we
okay,
are now
I
being
heard you.
told, that apparently Barabbas was Jesus's long lost twin.
No,
And
no, no, no,
everybody
no.
was
Black
so
Doctor.
confused. Everybody was so confused that they took Barabbas and hung him on a cross, even though if this was happening, everybody, even Barabbas would say, wait, what are you doing? I'm not him. I'm
Trust
not
me,
the guy
bro.
you're looking for.
Trust me, bro.
The easy
And
thing,
apparently nobody said a single thing. And
Black
even
Doctor,
then,
Black
on the
Doctor,
cross,
listen.
if we're going to take any of this as true, Jesus actually speaks from the cross. We have his words. But apparently, Barabbas knows everyone whom Jesus knew. He apparently knew John, and he knew his mother. Because he says to John, son, behold thy mother. And he speaks to his mother, mother, behold thy son.
Well, that's according to the authors.
Apparently,
But
a random twin can do exactly the same things that Jesus did. Nobody bats an eye.
okay, may I say something on this, bro? You let me finish, bro. What I was about to say is, fact, technically, we do know that Barabbas, he is the one who deserved the punishment. So it wouldn't be just if God just made him look like he was, because Jesus was innocent, so he didn't deserve to die. I don't see the issue here. Let's say for hypotheticals, right?
You're not actually addressing. You're not addressing the objection.
Okay. I can. Okay.
You're not addressing the objection.
Okay, listen. The objection is
Apparently, I will
I can
repeat
address
the
it.
objection so you make sure that you get it.
Oh, I get it actually.
Then
No need to
address
do it.
it, because the
Okay, I'll
first
address
part
it.
you
Okay,
didn't
okay.
address it.
So okay, I do it actually. Listen. So the objection is that history says that they know that someone named Jesus was crucified, of
No,
course,
but
right?
no, Zach, no, do
No,
not think, don't tap dance. Jesus Christ, the
no.
crucifixion is a historical fact. Don't try to tap dance. It's a historical.
Nobody says
Yeah,
we
but the
think
Quran
that
says
there's
the Quran says they
no.
thought so too.
Zach.
It's not them thinking so. They knew that he was crucified. Okay, by that logic, if Allah says Alexander the Great never existed in the Quran, he never existed.
Right. So here, everybody knows which Jesus was crucified. Nobody says, well, some guy named Jesus was crucified. They know exactly who it is. They call him Christ. They call him the so-called Christ. Tacitus says that this Jesus is the Christ whom the Christians get their name from, that he suffered the extreme penalty under Pontius Pilate with Herod the Tetrarch. And again, Josephus says that Jesus was the one who was crucified, and his followers did not cease to believe in him and say that he rose from the dead. Everyone knows the pagans mock Christians by calling Jesus Christ their crucified sage. They know exactly who it is. There is no ambiguity in the historical record. Not any.
Right, Zach, can I come in, please? Zach?
Yeah, go ahead, Bob. I want to see what you guys say.
Black Doctor, I'm gonna use a
First you
different
shut him up. Now you want to let him
Now,
speak?
you said, Black Doctor, you said, the Quran is the only statement that says that Jesus was crucified, and the Bible, the Bible says that Jesus was crucified. I would disagree with you, bro. because me
If
and
you
Live.
pull Psalm 91 again, I'm walking out.
Oh,
If
there
you
you go.
post
There
Psalm
you go.
91
There
again,
you
you will
go.
be out of
Oh,
this stream.
Caleb, let me deal with Black Doctor with Psalms 91, all right? And let's see how he's going to respond. Okay?
So you are gonna quote Psalms 91, aren't you?
Yes, I'm going to quote it. Let's go there. Psalms
Oh,
91.
oh, okay. So let's quote Satan then. Let's
Okay,
quote
let's
Satan
go.
then.
Let's go. Yeah, Matthew 4. Matthew 4.
Not quoting
So
Satan. We're
you're
going to the.
literally going to quote Satan.
No, I'm saying Jesus agrees with the Satan.
Who is quoting Psalm 91 and Matthew 4, Bob?
Satan is quoting, but Jesus agrees with him.
So you're
It says,
literally quoting Satan. You
oh,
literally said that you weren't going to quote Satan, but
Can
then
I-
you
Come
literally quote
on,
him.
come on.
I
can I
can't.
talk? Can I talk, Black Doctor? Okay,
Okay,
let me show you the reference, all right? What it says here. Right?
Speak your
It says,
nonsense and then I'll respond.
it says the tempter came to him and said, "If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread." Jesus answered, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone." Okay, and then but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. Then the devil took him to the holy city and had him stand on the highest point of the temple. "If you are the Son of God," he said, "throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and they will lift you up in their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone." Jesus answered, "It is also," listen to this, "it is also written, do not put the Lord your God to test." Now I know why these things have happened. The devil is quoting Psalms 91. Yeah, let's go to Psalms 91. Psalms 91. Black Doctor, I'm gonna put you in a lot of trouble on this one. Psalms 1. Let's go to Psalms 91.
Keep putting yourself up. Keep putting yourself up. It'll be the easier to knock you down.
Oh,
Keep
brilliant.
talking,
Excellent.
man.
Good.
Keep
I'll
talking.
doing it then.
Bob is
Psalms
never going to admit
91.
it.
Keep
Uh,
talking.
okay, I'll keep talking, mate. That's not a problem. Psalm 91, verse 15. No.
Bob, I don't know if you see it, but Psalms 91 is actually a secret implication. It's a prophecy of Aisha.
Caleb, let me speak to Black Doctor.
Oh, mercy.
The devil obviously quoted that Psalms 91. It says here, it says that if you say the Lord is my refuge and you make the Most High your dwellings, no harm will overtake you, no disaster will come near your tent, for he will command his angels concerning you to guide you in all ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you don't, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. At the very verses the devil quoted, and Jesus agreed with him and said, "It is also written, do not tempt the Lord your God." So Jesus agrees. This is a prophecy about him. If you read the whole Psalms 91, yeah, I'm going to read it from verse 1, all right, so that you can see it in context. Or live, do you want to put it on the screen so that everybody can see
I
it?
already have it on the screen.
Okay.
First of all, before Bob reads this, I have a question for you guys.
I'm going to Zach.
No.
Let me finish.
Let him finish. Let him
Yeah.
finish, and then I'll
Okay.
respond, and then you can speak.
It says,
Because I'm
whoever
tired of
dwells
this
in
nonsense.
it says verse 1, Psalms 91 verse 1, it says, "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say, the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Surely he will save you from the foulest snare, from the deadliest pestilence. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. You will
Uh,
not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only observe with your own eyes and see the punishment of the wicked. That's a very good, important point, that one. If you say the Lord is my refuge, and you will make the Most High your dwellings, no harm will overtake you, no disaster will come near your tent, for he will command his angels concerning you to guide you in all ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. You will tread on the lion and the cobra. You will trample the great lion and the serpent. Because he loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue him. I will protect him for the acknowledgments my name. He will call on me and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him, honor him with a long life. I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Clear cut prophecy about Jesus here. Clear
Exactly.
cut prophecy.
Clear cut
Literally, no harm
prophecy.
will
Clear,
overtake him.
clear cut prophecy.
And
I see why you
I know
highlighted
why.
Now,
verse 13. Can I respond to that?
no, it's my turn. It's my
Yeah,
turn.
go
I
on,
know you're
go
gonna
on. Yeah,
say.
It's my turn.
yeah, go on.
I agree. I agree that it's a prophecy about Jesus.
Oh, thank you.
How do
Well
we know
done. Thank you.
this? How do we know
Excellent.
this? Bob, I'm speaking. How do we
Okay,
know
okay.
this? Verse 13. You will tread on the lion and the adder, the young lion and the serpent you will trample underfoot. What is this verse referring to? Well,
It's
let's look.
referring. It's
Let's look.
referring
Let's
to
look.
people.
Let's look. Let's
I
look.
know. You're asking me a question. Let me respond.
No,
It's
no,
referring.
I'm talking to everyone else. I'm talking to everyone else.
Right, okay,
I
Because
okay.
can
this
So
respond to that. You guys say that.
it's rhetorical. It's rhetorical. So
right.
kick
So
back.
the thing is,
So
if
Yeah, it's
you
actually a
Zach, I'm
prophecy. It's a
speaking.
prophecy. It's
Zach, I'm
rhetorical. Like
speaking.
y'all just don't get it because it's
Hold on,
rhetorical.
Zach.
Right.
Let Black Doctor cook, man. Hold on.
Right. So
Let
this
him
reference, treading
cook.
on the lion and the adder, treading on the serpent, is
Mm,
reference to what?
mm.
Genesis 3:15.
Kill him.
And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and her seed, and your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head. He shall tread upon your head,
Woo.
and you shall bruise his heel.
Say it louder for the folks in the back.
Ye shall crush your head, the serpent's head,
Uh,
but you shall bruise his heel.
uh.
So in Genesis 3:15, the Son of Man will suffer, but in suffering he will destroy, he will tread upon the lion and the serpent. This is why Jesus says, it is also written, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. This same emphasis is found in Matthew chapter 16. When Peter tries to infer the same thing that you do, Bob, and that Satan does. Verse 21, Matthew 16:21. From that time, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and the chief priests and the scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, far be it from you, Lord. This shall never happen to you. Never, never. But he turned and said to Peter, get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me. For you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of man. So Jesus says, we have to go to the cross. I have to suffer. I have to be killed and on 3 days rise from the dead. But what about the salvation passages? What about those?
Let
What do
him
those
cook.
mean? If he's going to be saved, what do any of those mean? Peter actually tells us how. Acts chapter 2. He says this Jesus delivered up according to the definite plan and foreknowledge of God, you crucified and killed by the hands of lawless men. God raised him up, loosing the pangs of death, because it was not possible for him to be held by it. For David says concerning him, David, the same one who wrote Psalm 91, also wrote this passage from Psalm 16. He says, I saw the Lord always before me, for he is at my right hand that I may not be shaken. Therefore my heart was glad and my tongue rejoiced. My flesh also will dwell in hope, for you will not abandon my soul to Hades, nor let your Holy One see corruption. You have made known to me the paths of life. You will make me full of gladness with your presence. And then he begins to explain, verse 29, brothers, I may say to you with confidence about the patriarch David, that he both died and was buried, and his tomb is with us to this day. Being therefore a prophet, and knowing that God had sworn an oath to him that he would set one of his descendants on his throne, he foresaw and spoke, that is, prophesied about the resurrection of the Christ. He can't be resurrected if he wasn't killed. That he was not abandoned to Hades, nor did his flesh see corruption.
Louder,
this
louder
Jesus,
for the folks
God
in the back.
raised up, and of that we are all witnesses.
Janaza.
Right.
Very.
Can I respond to that, please?
That's a janaza, but carry on.
Okay.
Yo, wait, hold on 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Striving Muslim, say something.
He's definitely.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
How's it going, man?
Yeah.
It's good.
Cool. Yeah, just making sure you're not a troll. Go ahead.
All right.
Sorry?
Just making sure you're not a troll. We usually get a lot of trolls, so we want people to introduce themselves. Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Just making sure. But, welcome to the panel, man. Hope you enjoy the conversation, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Black Doctor, I'm gonna demonstrate why I believe Psalms 91 is talking about Jesus.
We already did. We
believe it. We accept it, Bob. We agree with you. We believe it's about Jesus.
Let me also.
Hold on 1 second, y'all. 1 second. 1 second, y'all. Black Doctor read all that. We got to let them have that floor uninterrupted for
exactly.
a second.
Yeah. Come on.
So whether
may I go first?
so whether it's,
I know what to
1
say.
second. So whether it's Zach or Striving Muslim, whatever one of y'all want to respond to that, go ahead. Striving Muslim, I know you just got in here and we'll be talking about right now. But,
Zach, let me respond
Zach,
to this.
hold on 1 second, Bob. But hold on 1 second, Bob. Zach, do you want to go or you want to let Bob go?
I'd like to go real quick. I'll do it for a little while.
All right.
So basically,
yeah, Bob, it's only fair. Let's let Zach go because you do get a lot of airtime on here.
Okay, so what I'd like to say is, first of all, I see where you guys are coming from here in 13, of course, right? But basically, I don't get how you guys. I could be wrong on this, of course, but so it looks like the other verses are saying no harm will come to him. How do you guys would explain that? That's all I'm wondering.
We already described that.
No, I know, but you really didn't. You just went over the other things.
Let me explain.
Okay, of course.
As we have just described, David says something very similar to this. He says, "You will not abandon my soul to Hades, nor let your Holy One see corruption." He applies that in reference to the Messiah's resurrection, his salvation, because in his death, no true harm is coming to him, but instead he is gaining victory over those who harm him. As he has said before, now is time for the Son of Man to be glorified. Nothing can happen unless I allow it. No one takes my life from me. I give it up of my own accord. I lay it down, and I have the authority to take it up again. This command I have received from my Father. So here, no unintentional harm is coming to him. Jesus lays himself down of his own accord. Caleb, did you have anything else to say for this?
No, you pretty much buried this and put this to rest, so...
No, actually, he didn't. I could be wrong on this. But Bob, I'll let you see. I want to see what Bob can do.
So instead, the very reason why we came here is because the Bible prophesies that Jesus Christ will die and in 3 days rise again from the dead.
Before his birth.
Right.
Before his birth.
And so this is actually a prophecy, not about a denial of the crucifixion, but about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. We just heard from Jesus in Matthew chapter 16 that I must go to Jerusalem, I must be killed, and on 3 days I must rise again from the dead. Actually argue against what the Bible says, Bob.
Okay, Black Doctor, no doubt, in the Bible it clearly states Jesus will be killed and crucified. No doubt, I accept that. Now let me also demonstrate myself why I believe Isa alayhi salam, Jesus wasn't crucified. In Surah 4, 157 clearly states that Jesus was crucified or killed. Clearly there, okay? Now I'm going to go to Psalms 91 because you yourself accept Psalms 91 is a prophecy about Jesus that helps me to disqualify Jesus being crucified easily. Okay?
Wait,
Psalms,
hold up, Bob. Are you just gonna restate everything that you said beforehand?
no, I'm because
Because
last
if
time,
you're
no,
just
wait,
gonna
hang on.
if you're hold up, man. If you're just gonna restate everything that you said before and walking through Psalms 91, then you're not actually answering the objection.
No,
The only thing
I
you're
said,
doing is
I'm going to
restating your
demonstrate.
argument again.
No,
You're
Black
not
Doctor,
interacting with what we
Okay, I
discussed.
can answer
Black
the
Doctor.
objection on this
Last
actually.
time, no, hang on, Zach. Last time I read it only. I said this time I'm going to demonstrate it. Let me demonstrate why I believe Jesus wasn't crucified. You know, you've had your chance of speaking. Let me speak as well. It's only fair that way.
You
So
went
Psalms
first.
91. Okay,
You went
Psalms
first.
91. Okay, let me speak. Psalms 91, verse 7, it says, 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only observe with your own eyes and see the punishment of the wicked. Um, this is what some Muslim scholars say. Now, I don't actually go with this idea that somebody was um, replaced to look like Jesus because I don't know what happened there. But there's a second century gospel of the gospel of Basilides is an Egyptian, a Coptic man that actually confirms that
Gospel of
Jesus was
Basilides.
Basilides, yeah, or Basilides, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm very familiar with the
Confirmed.
text.
Now let me finish, please. You keep interrupting me,
All
and
right,
then you
Bob.
can, yeah. So that gospel clearly states that Jesus was not killed or crucified. Instead, it was somebody by the name of Simon Cyrene. This is not an Islamic invention. This is in the second century. All Christian scholars accept that this is not an Islamic invention. This predates Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay, and I will go.
Hey, Bob.
Um,
Bob.
hang on, hang on, no, no, no,
Hey,
no.
hold on. If I may,
No,
You made a
it's my
claim. You
turn.
made a
It's my
claim.
turn
Before
to
we move
speak.
on from that,
No, Black
let's
Doctor,
deal
it's,
with that.
it's only fair. It's only
Let's
fair for me to
no,
speak now,
hold on,
please.
man. Hold on, man. We addressed. I only addressed one thing, and now you've addressed one thing. Let's address it. So, Bob, in the
No,
quote unquote Gospel of Basilides, did Jesus have a physical body?
bro, let me finish what I'm saying, and then you can actually like
All
go
right,
and refute
answer the
me.
question, Bob. Did
Oh,
Jesus have a physical body?
bro, let me say it how I want to say it, like you did, right?
Bob, did Jesus have a physical body?
Black Doctor, I'm gonna continue here. All right, number
Bob,
9.
in the
Oh,
in the Gospel
do you
of
not do you not
Basilides,
want me to speak?
did
Do you not want me to
Jesus
speak, Black
have a
Doctor?
physical body? We can
Yes, he
address
did.
the
Yeah.
rest of we can address no, he did not. No, he did not. In the
Can you
Gospel of
tell me Jesus?
Basilides, Jesus did not have a physical body.
Oh
This is
my God,
why he was not crucified.
bro, can I
Basilides was a
continue my point?
Basilides Bob. Basilides was a docetist. Do you know what a docetist is?
I know what they believe.
No, I'm
They
not sure.
basically believe Jesus didn't have a physical body, and he was
All right,
Exactly.
basically like some
So
Black
universal
Doctor,
cosmic
yes,
Black
thing. That,
Doctor,
yeah. Yeah.
Black.
exactly. So they believed that because Jesus was God, he was too good to enter into human flesh because flesh would defile him. So he only appeared to have a physical body, but he didn't have one.
So
This is why
basically, they don't believe
somebody
that
else
Jesus
was
ever
made to
became.
look like him.
So basically, they don't believe that Jesus ever became a human being or a man.
Exactly. They
Right.
don't believe that Jesus was a man. So if you're going to use this, then you're going to have to adopt its theology.
No, I don't
Be-
have to. I don't
Because,
have to
because
It's
because
against Islam, though. You can't do
again,
that.
Black
Yeah.
Doctor. Hey, Zach, Black
or
Doctor.
you're going to have to say that Muhammad got his sources from a Gnostic gospel.
No, no. Black Doctor. You have to remember in Islam, yeah, whatever matches with Islam, I'll accept it. Whatever it doesn't, I
So
will
you
reject.
so
I've said
you'll
this many
so
times.
you'll accept the
Right?
Gnostics.
I've accepted
You'll
what
accept the
matches.
Gnostics
I've accepted what
that
matches with
believe that
Islamic.
God was evil, You're going to accept a text that believes that God was evil to support your point that Jesus didn't die on the cross? That's going to be your evidence
So
that
you,
God was the text that says God was evil?
Black
Yeah, Bob,
Doctor.
it says you laughed at them or something. I'm pretty sure it
No,
says
no,
that, right?
Zach. Hey,
Yeah,
Zach.
Yeah.
it says that he laughs at the man who is the innocent man who was crucified.
Okay, let me demonstrate then. You keep interrupting me. You've had your chance of speaking. Let me speak, and then
You're
you
literally
can
going to a
rebut
text
with
that
me.
says that God is evil,
Just
sir.
Black Doctor, just leave it. Let me finish, and then you can respond to me. You know, I haven't finished yet. That's my point here. You know, let me continue, and then I can demonstrate to you why I believe Jesus was crucified. It's not difficult. It's gonna take less than 2 minutes or less than 3 minutes. Okay, just like when he was speaking, I didn't interrupt you. Please do as I did to you. Please. Brilliant. Now it says here, number 9, verse 8, Basilides, which confirms Islamic teachings, Jesus was not crucified. I'll take that one. Clearly, this is before Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay, Jesus wasn't crucified. It says Simon Cyrene. Now, I don't know whether Simon Cyrene or somebody else. What I know is it matches with the Islamic teachings. Jesus wasn't crucified. And then you go to verse 9. It says, if you, the Lord, is my refuge and make the Most High your dwellings, no harm will overtake you. This is what Islam says, yeah? وَمَا قَتَلُوهُمْ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُمْ. They did not kill him or crucify him. Clearly indicates Jesus was not harmed. No harm will overtake him. Clearly here indicates that Jesus was not harmed. Okay? And then he says, verse 10, no harm will overtake you, no disaster will come near your tent. For he will command his angels concerning you to guide you in all ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. The Quran clearly states Jesus was lifted up by God to heavens and he was saved. This verse here, 11 to 12, matches with the Islamic teachings. He was lifted up. In our understanding, the angels lifted him up to the heavens. Exactly matches the Islamic teachings here. And then you go to verse, hang on, Zach. It goes to verse 13. You will tread on the lion and the cobra. You will trample the great lion and the serpent.
It's true when he
Again,
returns, he will fight the Antichrist. It's not
again.
wrong. Yeah.
That's not how what we believe. Oh,
Zach,
technically we do, but I'll let you finish.
let me do my own explanation, these guys. All right?
Yeah, finish.
Okay, verse 13 clearly indicates Jesus will be victorious against the devil, which no doubt in Islam we accept that. Jesus won against the devil because the devil was planning with the Jews, was collaborating with the Jews to kill the Messiah. Okay? And God caused Jesus to survive. So because of that, that clearly indicates that Jesus fed on the lion and the cobra. Talking about the devil here. Clearly victorious against the devil here. Okay? And then you go to
Agree.
verse 14. Because he loved me, says the Lord, I'll rescue him. Again, God said in the Quran, Jesus was saved from crucifixion. God saved him, you know. And then you go to verse 15. He will call on me and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. If you go to Hebrews 5, yeah,
Oh my
verse
gosh, I knew
7.
this was going to come
All
up.
right. Hebrews 5, verse 7 clearly states Jesus prayed to God to be saved from death, and God accepted his prayers.
And he
It
did.
collaborates here with verse 15.
All right,
Okay.
Bob, that's enough, man. Look, we already, Bob. Look, we already addressed that. We already addressed that last time. I don't know why you keep bringing up the same thing. Like I was letting you go because it seemed like you was bringing up some different stuff, but
Let me speak to the black
you're
doctor.
bringing up another position. But Bob, you're bringing up another position, and the fact that you're quoting verses that we already told you about, and you're also not reading it in context. The last time you quoted that verse, we told you to keep reading, and it destroyed you.
Yeah, but black
It's
doctor
the same thing. Like all you got to do is just keep reading, bro. That passage that you just
Context is
read,
the
put
enemy.
more
Life.
verses down, bro.
Context is the enemy.
brought up this idea, not me. Let me
Context
Yeah,
is
I know,
meaning.
but the fact that you're misquoting. One second, the fact that look, I would have never said anything if you would have quoted that verse and actually quoted the other passage and
In
said,
context.
and it also says this, but I don't believe in that
because it disagrees with the Quran.
Let me finish on verse 16. It
Life,
says,
No, life is
it says
speaking.
hang on,
Life is
I'm gonna
speaking.
finish. I'm gonna finish
No,
this part.
no,
and let
Bob,
you do.
Bob, you're going
No,
to have to
no,
wait
Black
until God
Doctor,
Logic
let me finish.
finishes.
With
He was
long
in the middle of
life,
speaking.
I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. This is what Islam believes. Jesus is still alive. He did not die. It collaborates
right.
exactly.
None of that. Okay, but none of that. Like that doesn't hold any weight, bro, compared to what you're trying to do. Like I said last time, you're going into a book. Listen. You're going into a book that clearly proves that he was crucified. Already agreed that yes, he was crucified according to the Bible, but yet and still, you're going to the Bible to prove he wasn't. You're contradicting yourself.
Yeah, but this prophecy says no harm will happen to him. And
I'm
Jesus,
gonna
But you
be
already agreed that the Bible teaches he was crucified.
yeah, but that's the problem. Life is a
Okay,
contradiction.
so what is
If
okay? So
Jesus-
what are you talking about,
Yeah.
Bob?
Yeah.
You agree that the Bible teaches he was crucified, right?
Yes, but also I agree the Bible
So-
teaches free from contradiction. So that's a contradiction.
Bro, what are you?
You
The
Christians, a
only one
contradiction.
who believes that it's a contradiction is you, because you can't stand to read what the entirety of the Bible says. I'm going to be honest with you, Bob. I still don't know why life gives you the time of day, because any other reasonable Christian would have kicked you from this stream.
Oh,
Because
come
you
on. Is
are
that because
blatantly, because you are
I
blatantly
told you,
ignorant.
let's talk to
You
Zach.
have literally admitted to cherry picking the text, and you are perfectly fine with it. If we
But
said,
that's what
Bob, I'm speaking. If we said, I'm going to take from the Quran what I believe because it agrees with me, and I'm going to throw away everything else that the Quran disagrees with, then and that's going to be fine. You would throw me out because you're misrepresenting what the Quran says.
no,
I could say that the Quran is actually from God when it says that it musaddiqan, it confirms what is within the hands of the Jews and the Christians, which it means it confirms the Bible. But when it says that Jesus Christ didn't die on the cross, I'm going to say that's corrupted. I don't need to believe in that. That's corrupted. So I can do the same thing. Would you allow me to do the same thing? Honestly, would you?
Look, first of all, you've been doing this, Christians, for a long time because you guys
Is it
hang
okay?
on. I'm responding now because you Christians believe, Jesus was born of a virgin. The Quran says he was born of a virgin. You're okay with that one? You know what I mean? You don't disprove that
No,
one.
I'm not,
What-
because it says that the virgin birth
Hang on.
happens
Hang
when
on.
Jesus is speaking from the cradle.
Hang on.
It's
I have something to
literally
say.
stealing from another Arabic infancy gospel.
Yeah, but
It's
do you
stealing from
agree?
another Gnostic gospel. I don't believe it.
Guys,
Do you agree Jesus was born of a virgin? Doctor?
Yes,
we
because the
believe it.
Bible
Okay.
says so. Not
Yeah.
not your
so-
Gnostic
All right, can you
nonsense.
guys let Hunter? I think Hunter's trying to say something.
I've been
Okay,
trying
go
to
on,
say
Hunter.
something.
Go on, Hunter.
The reason why we hold to those beliefs is not because the Quran says it. We believe it because the Bible taught it first. The reason why we don't hold to things that the Quran's hold to is not because well, some of them isn't because the Bible doesn't teach it. Another reason is because it's not found in Christian orthodoxy. It's found in pagan Gnosticism, like what you mentioned with the Gospel of Basilides. Basilides was from Alexandria, who was a Gnostic pagan.
Facts.
And he believed that to be even flesh was evil because he was a Gnostic, that Jesus was purely spiritual. And you can't
And
kill
that
the spirit.
world was created by a demiurge, an evil god.
Yeah. And so, Bob, the reason why we hold to this is because the Quran agrees with us, not the other way around. The Quran agrees with us. Muslims agree with us that Jesus was born of a virgin, that he ascended to heaven, and that he was a great prophet and he was a great messenger. The Quran and Muslims agree with us about those things, not the other way around. Christianity came first, not Islam. Islam didn't come first.
We're the
Christianity did.
standard.
Islam.
We're the
Islam
standard.
came
You're
first
not.
because we believe
No,
Jesus is the prophet.
Islam did not. The standard of Islam that you have today didn't originate until Muhammad came and gave the message of Islam. That's what happened. You
Nobody
don't.
makes this narrative until
Hang
the
on,
7th
Black
century.
Doctor. Hang on, because I'm getting impatient with Bob because of the inconsistency and the dilemma that he's creating for himself, thinking that it's we agree with the virgin birth. No, you agree with the virgin birth. Muhammad agreed with the virgin birth because this is what he was hearing from Arab Christians in the place that he was around in the Middle East, based on the Jews and the Christians that he spoke to. He agreed with us, not the other way around. Let's get that straight first and foremost. Period.
Right. So just because he heard from the Jews and the Christians, yeah. So why did he not agree with them with things like crucifixion when the majority were saying Jesus was crucified?
Because he's
To
an
Because
idiot.
clearly see that Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is inspired by God. He's not going with
no,
the
I wouldn't
majority.
actually at all.
He's
I
going
would
with
actually
what God
say
told him.
that because again, you do have Gnostics in the time of Muhammad that
Mhm.
held to the idea, like the gospel of Basilides, that he was not crucified. But we know that that idea didn't originate with Islam. That idea originated with Basilides in Gnosticism, not Christianity, not the followers of the way,
It
which
did.
is
Hey,
It
Hunter.
what
did.
was originally
It
Christian.
did. It
Hey,
did
So,
Hunter.
originate with Muslims because the Quran says
can
Jesus'
I finish?
disciples were
Bob,
Muslims.
Bob,
The Quran.
Bob, Bob.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Shh.
All right, don't
You
patronize.
can't hear me if you're talking. So shh.
Yeah, but like I'm
Hey,
replying to you. You're saying,
let's move on to Zach, bro. I mean, I'm not like it's no point in
Just drop the
keep going
man.
back and
So we
forth,
won't have to worry about it.
with Bob.
Life, could I get a word in?
Let's
Right.
give Zach the floor, bro. Like if we want to talk about these conversations, then we need to have to give other people the floor. Like, yeah, Bob, like I said, I don't have no problem with you being welcome, but at the end of the day,
Right.
the floor needs to be moved on. I'm hearing circular conversations. That's why I'm just sitting back. Just said
to
at
be
least
fair,
two
Exactly.
times on the
to be
stream.
fair,
Hold on one second.
Right.
1 second, Bob. I've said at least 2 to 3 times, bro. Let's give the floor to Zach. And
yeah,
somehow you're still arguing with people.
Mute yourself.
So
Just mute
what
yourself
I'm
and
saying
don't
is
mute.
what I'm saying is let Zach get a little bit of the floor, bro, so we can
yeah,
have.
that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Life.
Mute yourself.
Are you still there? Is Life still there? Because he's frozen.
Yeah, he's
But
frozen.
still
Yeah.
there. But Bob, you need to mute yourself so that Zach can talk.
No, it's okay. I'll be.
You
No,
kind of just like
no.
to just go in circles, bro. So let's give the floor to Zach.
Yeah, so
Let's
mute yourself.
conversation with Zach.
Okay.
Bob, mute
Bob, you
yourself.
had about 2 hours. You had about 2 hours of conversation, man. That's cool. Like I said, I don't have a problem with you, but once it starts to be enough, bro, enough is enough. I don't want to go in circles.
No,
I
but
don't want
Black
to keep
Dog.
going in circles on every conversation, bro.
Can you guys kick Bob temporarily? Because he's not gonna be quiet for a few seconds. So
I
That's why I keep
second.
telling him to mute himself.
I
Zach,
he
second
won't.
that.
Bro.
If he
won't.
can't mute himself, mute him. Do it for him.
You can't mute.
So
You're not
Bob,
supposed
you
to make me
get what
run.
I'm saying? You get what I'm saying, Bob?
Yeah, let Zach speak. Let Zach.
All right, cool. So interject because I don't want to kick you. I don't want to have to mute you, bro.
No,
Just
no,
let us build with Zach for a minute, man.
All right, I've made my point. Let Zach speak now.
Okay,
Very bad.
honestly, I forgot what I was gonna say because Bob talked too much for a while, so I'm not even sure what I was gonna say beforehand. But what I was gonna say,
We can start with something new, bro, or whatever. Don't.
yeah, let's start with something new. But I honestly forgot.
If you don't mind, could I say just a quick sentence?
Yeah,
If
of course. Go ahead.
it's gonna spark Bob to if it's gonna spark Bob to respond to you, then nah, bro. Let's just move on.
No.
Something
Yeah,
different. If it's about what we was just talking about, then nah, let it go. Because we already discussed it with him before, bro. He doesn't need to hear it. He knows what he's saying has been responded to over and over and over again. Zach, you want to bring up something new or what? What you got?
I don't know. You guys have anything else to say? I just forgot. I had something good, I thought, but then Bob kind of made me forget. So I don't have anything right now.
Oh, Zach, why are you coming then to speak then? If you got something to say it.
I did, bro. But
Bob, why are you talking? It's Zach's floor.
No,
That's why I
I'm
told you
just
to
telling
mute.
him like if he's got
Bob,
something,
I don't
I
care.
just
I
have
don't
to
care.
speak.
I do not
Yeah,
care.
okay.
Bob,
Listen,
nobody cares.
do
Mute.
you want to
Right,
bring something up? You can
not
bring
me.
something up, dude.
Bob,
Not you,
mute.
Bob.
Hunter, do you want to bring anything up? Because I mean, as we
I
saw,
just
the
want Bob
emotion
to
of the
stop talking
crucifixion
for
has not been
literally
answered.
5 minutes and let somebody else talk other than himself. That's
Guys,
He
all
he
I'm
can
saying.
won't stop
talk.
talking. You guys have to keep Bob
Bob, just
temporarily.
stop talking.
Bob, either, yeah, because he's not gonna.
That's all I wanted. Because literally he wouldn't stop talking. I don't honestly. I like the conversation. I really do. It's just when it's constant bickering and talking nonstop, I tend to lose patience just a little bit.
Okay.
I still have plenty of it. Trust me.
Mhm.
Bro, you and I are losing our cherub-like demeanor.
Bro. Bro. What you said. Anyways, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just quiet when they start trying my patience.
I
It
should
won't
probably do
last.
that more.
No,
Because
it won't last.
I don't want to lash out, so I just go quiet and don't say nothing when they test
Now,
me.
is there literally any other Muslim, like any other Muslim, who wants to make an argument like this?
Wait. Never mind. I ain't gonna.
That's a new one right there. Striving Muslim. What's up, man?
He's not a new Muslim. He's a striving Muslim.
All right, he's new.
Get that straight,
He's not
boy.
new, but he might be new to the deen, huh?
Before he goes up, may I say
New
something?
to the ding.
Yeah, Zach.
So what I'd like to
Strive.
say is that what Hunter brought up, I just remembered when he said that because I don't want to misquote you, but you know how you said that the Quran, it contains some stories and stuff that are in books that are non-canon, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't
Yep.
think this is real. This necessarily, I don't think this necessarily disproves it, because according to historians, there's also biblical stories that are in also non-canon books before, like the flood of Gilgamesh. So I don't think
Yep.
necessarily it is a disproving point, but we have to
I
look at this from a different basis, I think.
Okay, so let me respond to that because that's
Yeah.
so there's a difference between the and I count it as plagiarism, so forgive me, but that's just how I see it. Because
Mhm.
what happens is the idea of the Quran is that Allah, that's his original words. He originated what was said. So it's quoted to Allah. However, we see these things take place before the Quran comes into place, hence the plagiarism. But when it comes to, for example, with the Bible, and I don't personally think it's quoting the Epic of Gilgamesh. What I think is happening is there is a common oral tradition that derives, and that's why you see so many stories like this. Other means of stories that are found in, like, for example, the Old Testament. The Old Testament is speaking to a ancient Near Eastern society, community, culture. And what it does is that it brings polemics to those other religions. Like, I'll give an example. Abraham and Isaac, where Abraham or God tells Abraham to go take Isaac up, and God actually stops him from sacrificing Isaac. Ironically, this is actually a polemic towards the Canaanite nation that surrounds Abraham, because this is the actual norm, was that they would child sacrifice to their gods. And the polemic here is that if God was to have Abraham be the father of faith, hence Abrahamic religions, then Abraham showed that by his works. Hence James 2, he was deemed righteous because of his works. But ironically, Abraham, being the father of faith himself, came in and showed that he was just as faithful to God as every other person is to their gods. So much so that he was willing to sacrifice his son to it. That's how he showed that by his works, he was true and faithful. But God comes in and says, no, don't lay your hand. I provide the lamb. And what happens is that God shows that Abraham, through his works, is just as faithful as the people next to him, but he will be the father of many nations who will also be faithful. Hence, it was a polemic against other nations and their religions. This is what you see where the idea, like with Baal, for example, a lot of people believe in when it came to like the hierarchy, or not, well, yeah, hierarchy. Baal was at the top, but Yahweh comes in the Old Testament and says, no, 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 no. It's not Baal. It's me. I'm the one that's at the top. I'm the Most High God. I am El Gabor. All these things. So when you have points of the Old Testament quoting other ancient Near Eastern texts, mainly it's a polemic. It's an argument against those other nations, which you don't have that with the Quran. You have that the Quran is quoting from something before, or okay, hold on, let me take it back. You have something that is said before, and the Quran just so happens to have the same exact story in it, but it's not from Basilides, it's not from Taishan the Assyrian, it's from Allah. So from a historical standpoint, Allah, or the writer of the Quran, which would be Allah, whoever truthfully this Allah is just simply getting the stories from previous texts that have no originality within Christianity also. So
Yep.
that's why Christians have a hard time holding on to that. It's polemics
So-
versus
Unless
I
Allah
just have a
inspired.
quick point on that.
So the one thing I like to say is that, yeah, I like your response, man. But the thing is that I wasn't talking about necessarily that the Bible quoting other stories. I mean, like, literally, like, the story of Genesis. Many scholars say it's also in other books before. And of course we could say, like,
Epic
Which
of
one?
Gilgamesh.
yeah,
Which
the thing I'm saying is that, some parts of the truth can also be remained in other texts that are not necessarily divinely revealed because it's some sort of oral tradition. You'd agree
Are
with
they
that,
more
right?
heretical sources?
Yeah, but I'm saying, yeah, it can be found in that as well.
Even like something that is true
Mm-hmm.
and it's only found in a heretical source.
Not only found, but it also found in other sources. Because how would you necessarily determine that? That's what I'm trying to say.
For
I got that.
example,
Yeah, he can answer it. He has some good answers, I think.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Hunter.
Okay, so the idea of Epic of Gilgamesh, it is dated before Genesis, which traditional view is that it was written in the 15th century BC during the 17th and 18th dynasty of Egypt. That's the traditional view of when it was written. Epic of Gilgamesh dates before that. The difference, however, is that the reason why people don't believe that it is copying from that story is because where does the Epic of Gilgamesh derive from, first off? Just to put it in perspective.
Well, people would say it's basically a flood story, so everyone would probably know about it, I guess.
Is that all it's about?
No, it's also about a story passed down to generation, you would say, I guess.
Well,
Am I
no, not
wrong?
what I say. I'm just
Oh.
asking, like I'm just curious, personally, like what do you hold, like, have you like read the
Has he even
the
read
inf-
the Epic of Gilgamesh?
well, not
No,
even that.
honestly, I've heard many scholars talk about it and watched some
Which
documentaries
ones?
about it, but
Which
Yeah,
one?
the idea behind it ultimately is that it's not copied from a text, because if you hold to Moses and he wrote down the Pentateuch, then Moses wouldn't have had a copy of the Epic of Gilgamesh. He derived from Egypt, which Epic of Gilgamesh is not an Egyptian type story.
Mm-mm.
So the idea is that from an oral tradition, which is the view that I hold to, is how the source attained. But of course, you notice that it's not Gilgamesh that's being mentioned. It's actually Noah, or I forget what the actual Hebrew. Well, actually, I'm trying to remember if it's in Ugaritic. I think the Ugaritic name of Noah would have been like Ushtan Pishtan or something like that. I can't remember. But either way, it's not Gilgamesh. It's not the same. It's not plagiarizing. However, like for example, with the Gospel of Basilides, you do have quote unquote practically the same exact story with the same exact person of the same exact means. And the idea behind it is that in the Gospel of Basilides, just to bring it back to Jesus, you can definitely respond to all points I'm making, please.
okay.
But with the Gospel of Basilides, what Basilides was teaching was that Simon the Cyrene, who helped carry the cross, was the one who actually was crucified. And what he actually taught was Jesus being a miracle worker, pulled a Houdini, and swapped for Simon the Cyrene to actually look like him. And when that happened, when he pulled the trick, Simon the Cyrene was the one who was being crucified. Hence the switch. And Jesus was in the crowd laughing at Simon the Cyrene being crucified in his place. Hence why some of the Muslims hold to the view that Simon the Cyrene was actually the one that was crucified, or that there was actually somebody else made to appear to look like Jesus onto the cross. That's Gospel of Basilides, which, again, there's no tradition that goes before that. There's no source that there. In other words, if you hold to, I don't know, Zach, if you hold to hadiths or not. Do you? I'm not sure. Are you Quran only?
No, I believe in the hadiths and stuff.
So in other words, with like hadith science, you have a chain of narration. It begins with Basilides. It doesn't go anywhere before that. So it would not be counted as legitimate in any way, shape, or form, in any standard for that matter, historical or in the hadith science. So that's where we have an issue where like these don't originate with the earliest sources we have about Christ historically. This originates much later on.
Hey Hunter, can I even point out something here? Because this theory,
No.
this swap theory, doesn't actually find itself in the Quran. It finds it in the Tafsir. This is where the theory comes from. It comes from the commentators of Surah 157, not the text itself. The text is vague, and it simply says it was made to appear to them. There are multiple influences or multiple theories about how it was made to appear to them. So that's one thing. The theory doesn't come from the Quran, but it comes from the Tafsir. However, there are things in the Quran that only find their source in heretical documents. Like consider. I'll only point to two places. Brother Life, if you could share my screen. There are two places about Jesus where it actually comes from heretical sources. So number one, the case of Jesus speaking from the cradle, and I'll say this and then I have to leave for about 20 minutes. Number one, Jesus speaking from the cradle actually comes from the Arabic infancy gospel of the Savior. It's an apocryphal text. And in the text, Jesus speaks from the cradle. He says, he has said that Jesus spoke, indeed, when he was lying in the cradle, said to his mother, I am Jesus, the Son of God, the Logos, whom thou hast brought forth, as the angel Gabriel announced to thee. And my Father has sent me for the salvation of the world. So here, the text that the Quran gets it from, because this is the only place where Jesus is said to speak from the cradle outside of the Quran. Jesus says that he's the Son of God, that he's the Word, that he is the one who's brought forth, and he's brought forth by his Father, who is God, and who is the Savior of the world. That's a bit odd. We also see the place
when was this date?
where...
What is the dating of this infancy gospel? I forget.
Around the 500s, I believe.
So like 4th-ish century or 5th?
4th or 5th century.
500 would be 6th century.
Yeah, 5th or 6th century.
So like roughly about 100 or so years before Muhammad's birth.
Correct.
May I respond to the first one and this one after?
Is this in Arabic, like the language it was written in?
Yes. This is why it's called the Arabic infancy gospel of the Savior.
Yep. It's, just to say at least the math is adding up, but carry on.
Okay.
Yeah. So the second one that we'll look at is, of course, the infancy gospel of Thomas. Because this is the only place where Jesus is said to, like in the Quran, make clay birds and then blow them away. Aside from the Arabic infancy gospel of the Savior, it happens later on here as well, because Jesus is doing it on the Sabbath, showing his deity. But nevertheless, here it says in chapter 2 of the infancy gospel of Thomas, the child Jesus was 5 years old, and after it rained, he was playing at the ford of a flowing stream. And stirring up the dirty waters, he gathered them into pools, and he made them clean and excellent, ordering them by word alone. So he's the one who orders them. he orders the waters, and not ordering them by a deed. Then, having taken soft clay from the mud, he formed 12 sparrows from it. But it was the Sabbath when he did these things, and many children were with him. But a certain Jew saw that the child Jesus, with the other children, doing these things. He went to Joseph his father and slandered the child Jesus, saying that he made clay on the Sabbath, which isn't permissible, and formed 12 sparrows. And Joseph went and rebuked him, saying, "Why are you doing these things?" But Jesus clapped his hands, ordering the birds with a shout in front of all, and said, "Go, take flight like living beings." And the sparrows, taking flight, went away squawking. And having seen this, the Pharisee was amazed, and he reported it to all his friends. Later on, in the very next chapter, he kills a guy.
One thing, Black Doctor, I don't have much time, but I was going to respond to Hunter's claim, like the first three, I believe. And the first thing I'd like to say is that, kind of forgot because some time elapsed, but first of all, when we were talking about the crucifixion event in that, in the non-canon gospel, let's say if the Quran, hypothetically, if it did borrow from it, I feel like it would take more than just this one element, and it would also have like the Simon of Cyrene and all the and him laughing at him, and also the part with the divinity, because it doesn't make sense. But he also took in the
So,
Quran.
Hunter, before you
Sorry,
respond,
before you respond to that, can I just add to the point?
Yeah, I
Hang
will
on.
be back in like 10, 15 minutes, but just give
Okay.
me that amount of time. I will.
All right,
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Hunter,
Sorry.
Caleb, Life, you guys take
I
care
was-
of everything that I pointed out.
All
right,
one
cool.
more thing before you respond to this thing. I was gonna go right to the second one because I didn't have much time to speak. So about the second one, when I forgot when Jesus spoke in the cradle. In the other book, he instead declares his divinity and also that he's the son of God. And it doesn't make sense to me that the Quran would take that aspect and then instead change it, because it would be easier to appeal more to the Gnostics and other Christians instead. Because if you instead say that Jesus is only a prophet, that wouldn't really appeal to them in a way.
All right, Zach or Hunter.
Well, hang on.
Yeah.
Can
Well,
I just add to that before you respond?
Well, hang on just one second. Just because there.
No, hold on. Let's let him add because he's new to the panel and we haven't
and
heard
then
from
let Caleb go. Yeah, let Caleb go. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Go ahead,
Striving
Muslim.
Okay, thank you. So I think my question, just to add to what Zach said, is more foundational than that. I'm sorry if you guys have addressed this point earlier before this. So you mentioned that the Quran plagiarizes other sources that is found in Christian backgrounds, like all these other texts you mentioned.
Yeah.
But how are you able to establish plagiarism without establishing a contact? For example, if you are saying whoever the author of the Quran is, be it God or the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how do you establish a plagiarism claim without establishing contact with these texts?
Good question. So one, we know that because I'm guessing you know the history of Islam very well. So Muhammad starting off in Mecca and going to Medina, we know that Medina specifically, for example, had a huge population of Arab Jews, and Christians as well. There were many sources. That's why I don't know if you guys. I was going to drop the link in the chat, but I haven't for life. But if you guys go to like Surah 6, verse 25 in the Quran, I can send the link. It's actually Muslim, like the disbelievers or the pagans, the Quran tells, they pretty much said the same thing to him. Like all the stories, they came to him and they're like, this Quran is full of nothing but ancient tales and fables we've already heard. So like the Jewish and Christian communities were very prevalent in Arabia during Muhammad's time. They had many sources and stories in circulation. We know very well from Islamic sources that Muhammad interacted with both Jewish and Arab Christians very well. And not only that, we have them themselves. It's again Surah 625. Again, literally, you're telling us all the stories that are in the Quran from these Gnostic and apocryphal sources. They're literally telling him that, I just dropped the tafsir in the chat. Life, but you even have them. They're like, dude, you're basically telling us. It's verse 26, not 25, Life. But yeah, basically, you're telling us tales we've already heard. So yeah, that would be my response. Essentially, point one, the Jews and Christians were very prevalent in Arabia around Muhammad. Two, we know from Muslim sources themselves that he interacted with Jews and Christians pretty often. And it's essentially what I would argue.
Yeah.
Go
But
go
that
to
point
verse
will be solid
go to
if
verse 25 real quick, because I think it is 25, because that's what I
Yeah,
read in the Quran that I
verse
have.
25, they're basically telling him, dude, you're telling us stories and ancient tales we've already heard before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
yeah.
And
So
so the
just to
interesting
add
thing
to that
about
point, I
this.
think that
Oh,
point will make sense
can I
if
finally
the
respond?
chronology of the
Muslim,
verses
can
follow the.
driving. Can
Yeah,
I finally respond?
sure, go ahead.
Is that okay, life? Did I
Feel
respond as
free.
well? Cool. So I was trying to remember what was all said to. Um, oh, so Caleb brought up a good point about how the disbelievers are even referencing about how these are ancient fables, which we know what these fables are coming from, which the people who are disbelievers, so to speak, in Muhammad, that's we can see what they could be referencing to because we have the sources. And the question was, why didn't the Quran take more out of it? Well, that depends. What did the writer of the Quran already believe? Did the Quran of the writer believe that Jesus was the Son of God, that he was divine, that he was these things? No, he didn't. So it makes sense that when it comes to the idea of all these peoples and their different beliefs, the idea behind it is that, you have these pagans over here who have their summary of how it all is. You have the summary over here of these Christians or Jews or Ethiopians or somebody over here, and that's their summary. And then you have the writer of the Quran come over here and say, this is my summary. In other words, the one who wrote the Quran could already have a preconceived narrative of how things were, so much so that it was revelation from God. And that was the stamp of approval. It doesn't matter what all these other things say, Allah says it. That's why it's true. And so it could be the case, rather than not, that's the reason why you don't see these other things being taken out, because one, oral tradition for one, and so depending on how the oral tradition contained itself, uh, it, we know where it at least originates from, but what we don't know is what exactly Muhammad heard or was around specifically, but we at least know what it originates from. So there's that, and then secondly, established without context. That was another point that was made. The establishment without context, I think the context here is that we know where it, like I've been saying, we know where it originates from. And it doesn't originate with the earliest sources of Christianity. It originates with pagan Gnostic sources much later on. So if you were to use Hadith science with this, then it wouldn't be even counted as legitimate. It'd be cut off, not used, not reliable. It's a very, 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 very weak Hadith. So that's where it comes from. Historically speaking, none of this is historically accurate. And so that's like why I have a hard time holding on to this as even consider it to be true, because historically, from a historical standpoint, it doesn't follow suit consistently. So that's why. And yeah, I'll stop with that because I forgot everything else that was said. So
Yeah, I kind of
sorry.
didn't want to go too off, but there's actually a specific. I don't want to go through into this, but there's an article and there's like quotations. So in the Talmud, like there's various rabbis who write like commentaries on the Torah, and like
Mhm.
that verse. I don't know if you guys know in the Quran. I think it's Surah 5 where it says like killing one soul is equivalent to killing all the
Oh
souls.
yeah.
That's literally
Yep.
a verbatim quotation from the Talmud that a Jewish rabbi wrote a commentary on Genesis on the Cain and Abel killing.
But the
Yeah.
thing is, it
That's
says,
scripture.
Um,
yeah, but
can
it
I just
says that
respond
it's
to what
going to do
Caleb
like
mentioned about this particular verse?
Yeah, striving Muslim.
Yeah. So first
marriage
of all,
thing.
if you want to establish the
Zach, you can
claim
go
that
next.
can I go?
I was saying Zach can go next, just to be fair.
Okay. Yeah. So, so if you're mentioning the fact that the prophet had contact with the Jews and the Christians in Medina,
Yeah,
and that's why this verse is mentioned, alluding to that,
yeah,
there will be 2 points that will disprove that. The first one is that this verse wasn't revealed in Mecca. It wasn't revealed in Medina. It was revealed in Mecca before he got to Medina. And
yeah,
while he was in Mecca, he had very, very little contact with the Christians. The ones that had more contact, with the Jews. The ones that had more contact with the Jews were the Polytheists, which is the people who will travel to Medina in order to get a question that they will ask the Prophet. So the point that that the Prophet had some contact with them, which is what resulted in the stories he has, as mentioned in this verse, doesn't follow. The second point is, even if you were to argue that this point is addressing to that, alluding to that, why doesn't he claim that he is copying from our stories? Why does it say the stories of the people of the past? Why does it say from our stories? Why are you taking from our stories? And it follows through the history of the life of the Prophet and any other source you can have during that time, that nobody in the time among the Jews or the Christians accused him of that, because that would be a very straightforward accusation to say you are not getting this point, this stories from the God you claim to be getting it from, but this is from our sources. The mere fact that this accusation does not exist just lays bare to the claim that to argue this is plagiarism just doesn't hold.
If you don't mind, striving Muslim, can I respond? So you know how you said that Surah 6 was revealed to Muhammad when he was in Mecca?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually looked up the dating. So Muhammad died in 632, and 4 years before his death, in 628 is when Surah 6 was revealed. So you have the early Meccan period where he's persecuted. Then you have the Hijra where he goes to Medina, builds an army, comes back. He then conquers Mecca and rules Mecca. This is in the second stint. So this is after he spent time in Medina, and then this is his second return to Mecca is when this was revealed. So he interacted with Jews and Christians
That's not
prior to
accurate.
this.
That's not accurate. Sorry. If you check the history again,
I
when he
have.
conquered
I
Mecca, he didn't
literally just
spend
looked it up. It
more
was
than
Surah
a month.
6 was revealed
He
in
didn't spend more than 3
628.
months in Mecca, and there was no verses recorded. If you have any source telling you that there was a particular surah revealed during that period, wouldn't be correct. Moreover, every surah that was revealed after the Hijrah is counted as Madani according to the methodology used by the Quran historiographers. So you cannot have a verse or a verse revealed after the Hijrah claiming to be a Makkah surah. It's not possible. Moreover, even the time he spent in Makkah after the Hijrah during the conquest wasn't more than 3 months, which is when he went to Taif to do for the Battle of the Hunayn. When he came back, the only time he did return was to do the Umrah. He never spent more than 3 months in Makkah at the stretch after the conquest, so it doesn't follow.
Well, let me add this, because what I think is regardless of figuring out if it was plagiarized or not, or whether he just heard something and thought about it himself and decided to implement this in there, or heard it from Allah, the crux of the entire argument is that that information is wrong. That's as simple as that. Like,
No.
the information, wherever he got it from, is wrong. Historically, it's not accurate. That man was crucified. So your book says he wasn't. So
sorry,
either way
not to
it
interject.
goes, you have a problem. If
Yeah.
well, then what kind of God is that? Because he doesn't know what he's talking about. And if he heard it from a man, to reiterate what he heard and just basically threw his own little spice onto it, and decided to take away specific information, take away Simon of Cyrene, take away all that, and just decided to say, look, you know what? He wasn't crucified. He was neither killed nor crucified, but it was made to look like so. Ambiguous, because we know that the Quran is in many places of the Quran, it's very ambiguous, where you have to go outside to understand what in the world it's even talking about. The Quran tells you to perform Ramadan, but it doesn't tell you when it is in the Quran. So at the end of the day, we know that the Quran is ambiguous. The fact that we're arguing over whether it's plagiarized or not, I don't even think that that's the point. Let's actually figure out if the information is accurate or not, because you have a problem either way. Besides figuring out whether he got it from God or got it from somebody else, the major point is that so let's actually talk about that. That's what I think we should be talking about, how the information is historically wrong, period, no matter where he got it from.
Yeah, so
I agree with that.
Those are two very distinct points, and if you want to argue one, we can't do and argue the other one at the same time. Now, if you want to claim that the information provided in the Quran is wrong, the question remains, what is the yardstick you're using to assess that? If you say it's wrong because the Bible says it's wrong, then that wouldn't be fair. If you say it's wrong because the witnesses at the time say it's wrong, then again, that wouldn't be fair, because all these things are subject to human interactions, and human influence. Again, if 100 million people
Just
witness
a
something,
small interjection, 2 seconds. I don't know if I said it or not. I think I did, but I think I did say historically is wrong. So I'm not talking about the Bible. We can go. We can leave the Bible away. Historic.
Life, you frozen.
Yeah, I don't think Life knows that he's breaking up. I think that's what the issue is.
yeah,
Yeah, just give
but
him a second.
yeah, but
Hang
okay,
on. Just
sure.
give.
But I
Hang
do
on,
acknowledge the fact that yes, historically,
well,
on the
hang on.
Bible.
Hold on,
Okay.
Life. Hold on, Life is back. Life, you're breaking up. So, and you've been breaking up too. So that's why.
Yeah, something's going on with my connection today. I'm gonna have to a little later. But what I was basically saying, I just ended it with I think I did in that statement say that the history of the crucifixion is historically disagrees with the Quran. I'm not using the Bible. We can use history outside of the Bible to prove he was crucified.
Yeah. So
Now-
again, I wasn't disputing just the Bible. I wasn't accusing you of only using the Bible as a source. I was making the point that whatever you want to establish as the basis for this for what as they ask it for the truth is, you're going to find some sort of interference, some sort of inaccuracy that we can't account for. Moreover, we know that the earliest historians of that period did take some of the stories and some of the points from Christians. So you cannot say that the historians are unbiased and that whatever they say has to be objectively true. So we
Hang
will
on a
have a
second.
problem because
Hold
we
up.
can't go into it.
What?
So let me just finish the point. We can't go into diving into point by point to say, oh, let's look at this point in history, let's look at that point in history. But we will never agree as to which of these points are objectively true or which of them
Yeah, we can.
we can't, because I won't agree and you won't agree to my point as well. So we'll not ever come to a
But hang on,
consensus.
Tribal Muslim. Hold on, you're saying a lot though, and there's multiple points that could be literally
Objected to.
pointed to specifically. Like for example, the fact that for example, it doesn't matter if the writers or anybody are biased by any means. That's called the genetic fallacy. Just because it comes from people who believed in Jesus, that doesn't mean it's historically wrong. Just like how you would say the same thing about Muslim sources. Just because they're Muslim, you wouldn't say those Muslim sources are wrong about Islam because they're biased and therefore can't be taken into consideration. That's the genetic fallacy. And secondly, historians actually agree that the biases are taken into consideration, but at the same time, they can still be used as historical documentation. And that's why you
Even
have
Bart Ehrman says this.
Well, you can, that's what I was going to say. Like, not even Christian scholars, but also non-Christian scholars agree that when it comes to the Gospels, they're known as ancient biographies that are writing down the history of a single person, which would be Jesus in this sense. The New Testament, for example, is not like just, we don't hold it to the same standard as the Quran, where it's Allah himself talked these words and this is what the words of God actually is. No, we take it as it is a historical written documentation of inspired men of God who wrote down these experiences that they had. And from a historical standpoint, we can utilize them as ancient biographies. You can't do that with the Quran about Jesus because it's a theological book. It's not a history book. It's a theological book. It's not a science book.
And
So
it
that's
comes
why
600 years after.
That's a
which
fair
is
point.
another-
So
let's
do an exercise if you don't
Hold on.
mind.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Which is why we can't, from a historical academic standpoint, we can't use the Quran. We can't use Islam. We can't use Muslim sources as historical sources for Jesus and his life. We have to go to the New
earliest
Testament.
sources.
Which, by the way, let me ask you this. How do you know Muhammad existed? This isn't like a gotcha or anything. I'm just asking, like, how do you know Muhammad exists? Which I believe Muhammad existed. So how do we know Muhammad existed?
So basically, based on the eyewitness of based on the records of the eyewitnesses that we have,
Which is the earliest
continuous
source.
transmitted record that you have from the prophet to his companions, to the people that came after them, to the people that came after them. You have a continuous record that doesn't break at any point. But
what
again, I
is
want to
the
concede to the point.
wait, hang on. No, I don't. I'm making a point here because this is the reason why I ask.
Keep that thought.
What is the earliest source that we have of a companion of Muhammad? What is it dated to?
What do you mean the earliest source?
How old is the
The
earliest written source, like document, that gives us information about Muhammad's life?
Like earliest hadith, earliest tafsir, earliest source of anything.
What
Like,
Zero.
is
I
the
mean,
earliest source?
so this is not really my field, but I can tell you that books like the
I
books
can
of
go into this if you'd like.
Yeah, I would. I
Bukhari.
think, yeah.
So again, okay, let me put it this way. So if you look at the if you look at the way the Islamic sources are documented,
Mhm.
and again, if I apologize if any of the information I'm giving you is not fully accurate because this is not really my field. I'm not really an expert in all this. But
All
if you
right.
look at someone like Imam Malik, which is someone that lived around the 80 years after Hijrah, you
Yeah.
find that he
Did you
lived
say
in a time.
Mutwata Malik?
Mu'ta Malik. Now you find that he himself isn't taking anything that he wrote himself. For example, most of his ideas he's taken from Nawfal, who was the slave of Abdullah ibn Umar, who was a companion of the Prophet. So you can see that although these scholars did not have a direct written records keeping after them, you have their own students writing from what they learned from them. So you can see the chain of his own scholars, his own teachers that have lived with the Prophet and with the companions, giving them all these stories. So again, if I'm to give you like a book and say this is a book that was written 10 years after, it's not going to be possible because we do know that someone like Abdullah ibn Amr, who was a companion, was writing the stories of the Prophet, was writing hadith from the Prophet during the lifetime, but we don't have records of those works. So I'm not able to give you something like that.
Right. So from a historical standpoint, you're talking about the earliest companion you have is Malik, which Malik doesn't date until, well, at least the majority of you is that Malik isn't dated until around 150 years after Muhammad. Now, you also mentioned that you have an oral tradition as well, that where Malik, he's a collaborator of what was said before him in the time of Muhammad. I can grant that. This is the point of the matter here, because you have the same exact thing when it comes to Christ and Christianity. Like, for example, I'm sure Muslims, I don't know who you guys are familiar with. Are you guys familiar with James D.G. Dunn by any chance?
No, honestly.
No,
I didn't know because Muslims tend to use him every now and then, so I didn't know if you guys are familiar with him.
Bart Ehrman.
Well, no, I don't even have to go to Bart Ehrman.
Yeah.
James D.G. Dunn.
What? May I clarify something after him?
Go on.
Sure. Or you go ahead and do it. I don't care.
Okay, so what I was gonna say is that I kind of forgot, but what I was gonna say is that
Story of my life.
Let's say, for example, right? If something is in the Quran, right, and we find this thing later historically, but it's not necessarily in, say, for example, the non-canon books nor the Bible, what would that necessarily be? Like, I'm wondering from your perspective. I'm not sure if this is necessarily true, but I heard a claim about like the gods, like
uninspired scripture.
No, I was gonna tell you something. You know the gods like the people of Abraham used to worship, right? Like it was Venus, the moon, and
Marduk.
something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a thing
Marduk
going
is
Yeah.
Marduk is the one that I was specifically referencing and thinking of when I talked about children being sacrificed to Marduk. Mazda is even one, ironically, which is the name of the car. So there's that. Anyways, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I won't get a Mazda.
I should have bought a Honda, but instead about a Kia. Anyways,
So-
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Zach.
Okay. So what I was gonna say, a lot has been going around right now, so I kind of forget what I'm saying. But after this, a little while, can we move to a different topic, kind of? Because we're kind of going in circles with this. But one thing I was gonna say when we were speaking about when we speak about the genetic fallacy, right? Just because B comes after A, that doesn't mean B is from A. But technically, I was just wondering, couldn't we also apply that to the Quran or no?
What was that?
That
What was that
me.
sound?
Huh?
All right,
Hello?
there was that noise, so I didn't catch
I
that
think
last
there
thing you
was
said.
a connection backlash or something like that.
Okay. So what I said is that
Sorry. Oh, no, hold on. I think I got the gist of what you're saying. Genetic fallacy, why can we say that that's the case for the Quran? Well, that's what I was referring to. The genetic fallacy is what I was referring to, and the idea of it, the fact that it's being Christian sources doesn't mean that it's unreliable, because what Striving Muslim was talking about was like they were being biased, so we can't count them. My reasoning for using saying that that's the genetic fallacy is just because it's Christian sources doesn't mean it's unreliable. That's the genetic fallacy, because that's where I brought up the example. If it's a Muslim source talking about the Quran, or if it's a Muslim source talking about Christianity, or talking about the Gospels, or talking about the Old Testament and the Torahs, you don't just rule them out. We can't just throw them out because they're Muslim sources, because there's a
I agree
bias
with you.
there. Yeah, we don't say that. So that's why I say just because they're Christian sources doesn't mean they're unreliable. We can't just throw them out. We take in consideration from a historical standpoint that there is a bias involved, but we don't just throw them out outright just because we figured that there was a bias involved. That's not how history works.
But
Yeah, I
just to
agree with you
clarify,
with
the
that.
point I made wasn't to
Yeah,
say
because
that
we can see
just
stuff.
because it's a Christian source, it makes it biased. I was making the point that
Life, what are you
simply
doing?
because of the sourcing that they are also taken from, you can argue that they can be biased, and you can't make the point that whatever they say has to be objectively true. That's the point I was making, not that they have to be
Oh, I got you.
necessarily biased.
So I don't take the view that is objectively true from the standpoint of, I'm a Christian, therefore they're a Christian, and that's why it's objectively true. I hold to the view that it's historically, objectively, or historically factual. For example, that Jesus was crucified, Jesus lived, Jesus believes that he was the coming Messiah. I believe historically as a fact because all historical evidence points to that. And so that's where I have to go with what the evidence says. Now, anything that goes against the evidence, well, I have to take that into consideration as well. But
Mhm.
when I take that into consideration, I ask myself, what is the primary objective of why the source says this from a historical standpoint? Or, for example, like when it comes to the historical method, you have to take in consideration everything about the written source, when it was written, who it was written to, who was it given by, what is the time, what was it written on, what is the theme of it. You have to take all this into consideration historically. And when it comes to it, historically, from a historical standpoint, that's why we actually can't consider the Quran as a historical source, because anybody that I have talked to says that anything that contradicts this is false. Anything. Doesn't matter what it is or what it says. Anything that doesn't agree with this, that's automatically wrong, because this is always right, because it's the word of Allah. So it's the fallacy of comparing apples to oranges at this point, because the Quran is a theological book. It's not a historical book. So from that standpoint alone, that's why historians don't consider Islam to be true when it comes to a following faith after the Christian faith. Because even from the majority view and scholars, when it comes to the orthodox view of Christianity, the Trinity is actually involved, that it's an original doctrine based on manuscript traditions and oral tradition as well. For example, like Black Doctor mentioned Bart Ehrman earlier. Bart Ehrman also says that no essential Christian doctrine, aka, and this is actually in his book, the Trinity, the resurrection, all were believed from the beginning, are not affected by any textual variants whatsoever. And he actually agrees with his mentor, Bruce Metzger, who is a Christian, who says the same thing. And so, from a historical standpoint, these doctrines are true. These doctrines are still the same. These doctrines we can know were all the way from the beginning, not just from the text itself, but also from oral tradition. That's why I was bringing up James D.G. Dunn, which Muslims like to quote a lot. He dates the oral tradition of the crucifixion virtually immediately after Jesus' ascension from the hillside. So we still have Christianity today that we had back then. And from a historical standpoint, that's why you see a lot of people reject Islam, because from a historical standpoint, it doesn't add up. All the evidence points the opposite direction.
Hunter, if
Correct.
you don't mind, could I say something real quick?
Sorry, before
Well,
you go, I just have to drop off. Just wanted to say thank you for the points. I would want to come back and take those points one by one so that you can demonstrate how false the Quran is. But unfortunately, I have to drop off now. But thank you very much for the time.
No
I'm
problem.
down.
Thanks for coming, man.
Maybe Zach.
Yeah, no problem. Striving Muslim, man. Try to come on, man, a little earlier, so we don't have to deal with foolishness early on, man. But you're more than
Please
welcome,
don't make
man.
us deal with Bob again.
Seems like you got a head. I really wish Zach and guys like you guys would be the first ones up here, but I don't like to stream by
Story of
myself,
my
so
life.
Yeah.
I let Bob up here. But honestly, if we had a more pool of Muslims like we would on Clubhouse, that dude will be put on the back burner a little bit more than usual. So, yeah, striving. Feel free to hit that link and come up soon as possible. Zach, you already know you good, man. So,
Yeah.
for pulling up, man. I really enjoyed that conversation with you,
Yeah,
man.
basically, I was going to say to Zach, since I know Zach is Muslim, but he's like, it seems like right now, at least, because life hasn't added another Muslim, that you're the only one on the panel. I'm pretty familiar. I don't know for sure if Zach is, but Zach, do you know like who? I'm guessing for sure. You know, like Peter and Mary Magdalene and like some of the Jesus disciples, correct?
Yeah, I know them. But
Yeah,
bro, one thing I'd like to say, I'm very sorry, but
you're
like I
good.
said earlier, I gotta go. 'Cause my
Uh,
phone's like 9%. I guess I could stay for a little while, I guess, but
yeah, I can.
I don't want to start like a debate right now because it's
Yeah,
gonna
I
run
can
out.
say this, but yeah, Hunter's probably because you go to Dallas. I think you're at Dallas Theological Seminary, if I'm not mistaken. So you might know this, but
Not yet.
not yet. Oh, you're going there, but yeah, Bart Ehrman, Gary Luderman, E.P. Sanders, Paula Frederickson. These are four like very like well-known New Testament scholars, but like
Yeah.
Mhm.
all atheists. They're not Christian by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, they're all consent. These four are in the unanimous decision that Jesus' disciples believed very well that he rose from the dead. Of course, I mean, being that they're atheists, they don't believe it happened. But yes, especially they saw something, is what they say. That we don't. Of course, they don't believe it was the actual risen Jesus, but again, they also are in unanimous consensus that it is a historical fact that Jesus' disciples truly believed that he had appeared to them alive after his crucifixion and preached. Now, they say that they saw Jesus. We don't know if it was a vision or if it was a bodily resurrection because they're not Christians again. They're like, we don't know how they
Yeah.
saw him, but they saw him, is what they're saying. Like, so, I mean, yeah, to an extent, I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't really look supporting on the other end of the side for you guys, but I don't know if there's anything like else that you guys had to say because I'm pretty much done after this.
And
Well,
even
I'm
if
pretty
we're gonna
sure.
look at
What
you
Yeah.
say,
Zach, you were gonna
Okay.
say something?
I
yeah,
was gonna say something. So I'm pretty sure from an Islamic perspective, they could just say that the disciples, they just saw Jesus' temporal return before he ascended. They could say something like that.
Oh,
I'm not
Um,
saying, but yeah,
yeah, but the only issue with that is that you have those same exact disciples see the scars on his wrist and see the spear
in his
hole
side.
in his side. So that's evidence that he was crucified, which is why you have people like Shabir Ali believe that that it appeared for him to be crucified, but he actually
Swing
survived it.
theory. Swing
Yeah,
theory.
yeah, exactly. And the reason behind that is because of things like this, because those same disciples actually see the holes in his hands and the spear in his side and his hole in his feet, claiming that he was crucified, but that in fact he survived it.
Can I
So
add another? Can I add another historical / Quranic problem to this? Because Surah 355 says that Allah will make the followers of Jesus uppermost until the day of resurrection. So
Yeah.
the true believers in Jesus have to be victorious since the time Jesus was taken up until the day of resurrection. Yet the only consistent victorious claim that we have from the very beginning was that Jesus died on the cross, that he rose from the dead, and that it was God. We see this all throughout history. The only argument that one could have to make is that the book was corrupted and that all of the Muslims completely were eliminated by the heretics until the Quran came along, which
Yeah.
would contradict what Allah says in Surah 355.
Yeah, pretty much. It's also like pretty clear. I don't know if you know Yeah, I'm guessing Hunter and Black Doctor in life probably know him, but there's a guy who lived. He's not a Christian, Zach. He's actually a Jew who lived in the first century, like during Jesus's disciples' lifetime, named
Mhm.
Josephus. And like, long story short, there's a passage, like an Arabic translation or an Arabic
Testimonium
copy.
Flavianum.
Yeah. There's an
Oh,
Arabic version.
Josephus.
Yeah, there's an Arabic version, Hunter, of Josie. Yeah, Inspiring Philosophy did a video on it in his New Testament
Yep.
series. Yeah. There's
I
an
have
Arabic.
Josephus right here.
Yeah, there's an Arabic copy or an Arabic version of Testimonium Flavianum, which is a historical account that he wrote, that they believe that this Arabic text is the original wording of what he wrote. And he
Yep.
pretty much said that there was a man named Jesus. He was very good. Mind you, this man's not even a Christian in any stretch of the imagination, Zach. But he says Jesus was a very good man of mighty works and deeds. Long story short, he had many followers that believed in him. He was crucified after under the orders of Pontius Pilate. And right after these orders, he says that Jesus' disciples did not abandon his discipleship and that they claimed that he had appeared to them alive after his crucifixion, and they went out on the streets preaching his message. And this is coming from a first century Jew who's not a Christian by any stretch of the imagination. He literally says that Jesus' disciples proclaimed that he had appeared to them and rose from the dead after his death and crucifixion, and that they preached this message in the streets. And he says, again, it's kind of funny looking back. He says maybe this guy was the Messiah, and I just kind of ripped my hair out reading that. But yeah,
I can read the text for you. I can read the text.
Oh,
for
yeah,
you.
Where is it? Because I was just looking for it. I know it's in book 18, but where?
Yeah,
Where is it?
right. What I have is the Arabic manuscript, which is in John Mayer's book Original Jew.
yeah, you
Oh,
read,
go
you
ahead.
can read it.
Yeah,
Never
and
mind.
so
Go
it
ahead.
says,
That's better.
at this time there was a man who was called Jesus, and his conduct was good, and he was known to be virtuous. And many people from among the Jews and the other nations became his disciples. Pilate condemned him to be crucified and to die. And those who had become his disciples did not abandon their loyalty to him. They reported that he had appeared to them 3 days after his crucifixion and that he was alive. Accordingly, they believed that he was the Messiah, concerning whom the prophets have recounted wonders.
First century Jew who's not Christian in any way of the imagination, Zach, not buddies with Christians at all, but he was a first century eyewitness of the disciples.
I can quote Tacitus as well.
Yeah, Josephus, I just wanted to go on him because he sort of predates Tacitus by a little bit.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the evidence is
But
clearly
guys,
not.
these are all forgeries. These aren't real.
Alhamdulillah.
Well, the thing is, okay, so what I like to say is that the thing is, bro, if we remove like Islam or Christianity from this, I'm just saying from like an Islamic perspective, just concerning the crucifixion, right? If the Romans, let's say the Romans, they agree that they agree Jesus was crucified physically, right? I'm saying that I don't see how that would necessarily contradict history if we're talking about a supernatural thing happening. That's what I was wondering.
It contradicts the fact, Zach, that we have non-Christian historians who say that Jesus' disciples not only did that, they claimed that he appeared to them after his crucifixion 3 days later, and they preached that he rose again and was the Messiah. So, I mean, I'm not sure in any way how that agrees with the other end, but
And even then, let's focus on the thing here. The focus is the identity. They say fully that it was Jesus of Nazareth who was crucified. If Allah made it appear that it was somebody else who was crucified instead of Jesus, then Allah has intentionally deceived the entire world and has accidentally created the largest false religion in history, one that is still the uppermost religion since its inception.
Well, not necessarily, because let's say even if Allah made it appear so, the belief in Christianity isn't just a crucifixion; it's more than that. It's also a Trinity too, and that type of stuff,
Can
right?
you have Christianity without the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ?
No,
And
but
there's
I'm
a
saying it's not the main. It is the main
Exactly.
basis, but there are other elements to it. That
Yeah,
Allah necessarily didn't do.
but the Trinity would make no sense without the second person of the Trinity and his work. The reason why we know the Trinity is because of the Old Testament and its fulfillment in the life and teachings of Jesus. Jesus himself taught the Trinity, and if Jesus did not seal his testimony in his blood and in his resurrection, anything that we say would mean nothing. So again, it hinges upon the cross. Nothing is true without the cross. And if
Yep.
Allah made the cross happen, he literally validates everything in Christian theology by accident.
And Jesus' disciples firmly believed he rose from the dead. So,
Exactly.
and according to the
But-
Quran, Jesus' disciples were Muslims, and Allah promised to make them successful.
Right, Surah 355. We cannot forget that. This
In
is
Surah
what the
61,
apostles
Surah
proclaimed.
61:14 says that Jesus' disciples were Muslim, and that Allah promised to them to be successful.
Mhm.
And it says that Allah sent two messengers from Jesus' disciples, and the Arabic names that were given is one of them, I think, is
Peter
it's
and
the
Paul.
Arabic version of Peter, and the other one is Paul, and I think one might list John, but
John as well. I think it's in Ibn Kathir, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, it says Shimon. I think that's or is one of the names. I think that's like an Simon Peter is like an Arabicized form. So
What's the chapter again?
I could be wrong, but I think it's Surah. Is it 60? It's in Surah 3 is the one where the messengers are sent, but I think 61:14 of the Quran says the disciples were Muslim.
61 and ayah 14. Yeah, Ibn Kathir. You are my helpers.
Yeah.
Reference to the followers of Isa, peace be upon him, who will support me. The group of the children of Israel disbelieved. Allah gives victory to the believing group. Let me see. It's weird because what this does, what Ibn Kathir does, is that he takes some of his citation of Surah 355, and then places it here as well. That apparently Christianity or the followers of Jesus split into three factions: the Jacobites, which are, of course, the they're the Arians. The Jacobites, I believe, are the Arians. And the Nestorians are those that come around in the fourth and fifth century, and then you have the Muslims, and the Muslims are killed by the other two groups. So the Muslims, instead of actually being victorious, are killed, and Allah has to aid these other two factions against the Jews. So Ibn Kathir literally contradicts this in his uh in his tafsir.
Okay, so my phone is 3%, but one thing I like to say is before it dies, I want to say something. So I think when he means victorious, he doesn't mean literally, probably not in this life, but they can be victorious in the hereafter. Until like the day of resurrection.
It says they will be victorious until the day of resurrection, not on the day of resurrection. They will be victorious all the way until then. That's what it says. So if it's them being victorious on the day of resurrection, then it completely contradicts what the actual text says in Surah 355.
Somebody's getting a phone call.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
But yeah, I believe the text is quite clear, and for the Islamic historical narrative, that's a problem, a very big problem.
The fact that Jesus' disciples believing in his resurrection as a historical fact is just it's a low blow. I'm sorry.
Even before the conversion of the Apostle Paul, the creed found in 1 Corinthians 15 and the song, the Carmen Christi of Philippians chapter 2, is found before the conversion of the Apostle Paul.
Is his Zach
Paul
leave?
uses them as
No, his phone died.
Oh.
Yeah, his phone died. And all of them are used as sermon illustrations by the Apostle Paul to the Christians to remind them of what is already true. This is what you already sing. This is what you already believe. So these things are early, very early, and we still sing them today.
I'm gonna be real. It's gonna take Jesus to physically descend from the heavens and let Muslims know they're wrong before they are. I'm gonna be at this point.
It's gonna take a work
We're
of
gonna
God.
need him to
You're right,
literally
Caleb.
descend.
Hey, hold on. I would say from experience, there's been Muslims who have converted over. So I
True.
mean,
But like, bro,
just
the majority of them, Hunter, the way they are is like we're gonna need a literal coming on the clouds of heaven with the angels and with the glory of the Father for them at this point.
next thing you know, they're gonna say it's an alien. Anyways,
Bro, literally, like 2 + 2 could be 4, but if Allah says it's 6 in the Quran, then it's 6.
did you know 2 + 2 can equal 5?
Is that? That's funny.
Yeah, I'm kidding. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. 2 + 2 equals 5. Hold on. Of course, this is just me being facetious, but let me see if I can find it. Where is it?
Is life gone too? Dang.
Black Doctor, are you mod?
Unfortunately, I am not.
Caleb?
No, I'm definitely not.
Okay, well, we're running this thing now, people.
I
Like,
guess we are.
we have taken over. Well, never mind. I'm not even going to show it because it's not even true. But anyways, but yeah. Well, now what? Like, nobody can come up, and I mean,
So we just talk amongst ourselves then.
that's-
How about them Yankees?
You know what? You know what, chat? How you guys doing today, man? Give me a thumbs up.
Boy.
Doing good.
Yeah, you said,
Can
how
we, can we
about
get
them
some ones in the
Yankees?
chat? Wait, somebody's got to check how many likes do we have on the stream, and how many people do we have on here?
We have like 136 likes and about, I think, over 100 and something people.
Let me see. Yeah, we have about 101 and 135 people on the stream. Good job, guys. Good job, guys. None of you
Hey, hold
secretly
on.
kissed the black stone.
Do you guys hear that?
What?
No.
My
No.
dog is just like growling.
Why?
Bro, I'm haunted. I'm telling you. You couldn't even-
Give
anyways,
me attention.
Life.
Oh, let's sneak in on a conversation that Avery's having on TikTok.
Ooh.
wait, can you share your screen and we
Yeah.
watch it
bro.
all together here?
Yeah, bro.
Ooh, shoot.
Because I can never. I don't think I can get on TikTok with him.
What do you mean? Oh, you don't have 1,000 followers, do you?
Yeah.
Bro, I don't have anything. I don't even. I don't have anything published on TikTok.
Okay, I read the Arabic. So,
See,
Ibn Maryam,
the part,
Rasulullah.
Ooh.
yeah, so the part where it says he was directed to Mary or whatever. What's the Arabic word for that?
Alqaha.
And what is
Let
that?
him cook.
It means conveyed.
Yeah, in that context means conveyed.
It doesn't mean like cast down.
No. Alqaha. No. And tulqa الشيء, right? I can say alqa الشيء like I threw it, or alqa الشيء
Yeah, there it
or
is.
alqa الشيء to let something go, or
Yeah.
alqa الشيء to
He
convey the message.
Means to throw down, right?
Or if I say to you, no, that's what I'm saying to you. Then
That's
there's
what-
another meaning. So if I say to
Hello.
you, or alqa
What's
khitab,
good, brother
it
Luke?
means he conveyed a speech or he conveyed a message.
Well, so if the word means to throw down or to cast down or threw down the message, right? Sent down the message, threw down the
But
message.
that wouldn't be the meaning here because here's speech. So we'd say al-qasbi means conveyed speech.
No, I mean it says it's.
I don't know why, but this feels like some
Yeah.
ASMR
Yeah.
session where he's like playing music and then debating.
Speech is conveyed.
Some weird ASMR session.
It's the word, because it's the person. It's the person who is the word. It's the person who
Okay,
is the word. Which is
al-qaha in
Jesus.
this concept, al-qaha in this context, right? Al-qaha, it means conveyed. It doesn't mean to throw something down.
That's literally what it means, though.
I just gave you. So if I say to you, it means he conveyed the speech. This word is utilized.
He threw down. He threw down or sent.
Okay, so do I throw a speech at you? If I say alqa khitaban, am I throwing speech at you?
Well, here's the point. It's sent down. It's like, so for example, where I don't know if the same word is the same word used where he says that he
like he sent down the book or something like that? Is that
Who
the,
turned
is
on the
that
music?
all?
Just a
That
genuine
was
question.
أنزل الكتاب music.
Huh?
That's أنزل.
Oh, so different word. Okay. Well, so all I'm saying is, bro, is that
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I had a
it's not
video
God.
open
تحريف
on
المعنى,
TikTok.
yeah.
I didn't mean that.
You
Sorry.
do what?
تحريف المعنى. It means basically we have two forms of corruption. You have the corruption of adding words and things like this, and then you have corruption of the meaning, which is Ash'ari.
Hunter,
Same
I'm
thing you're
sorry
doing right now.
if I interrupt, but
The
I think
Ash'ari,
that's
I had a video open.
corruption of the music.
I had a video
What?
open, and then I had a video open that had played music, and then it was like calming music, and then I thought that was playing in the background of his video, and then I thought I said it was an ASMR session, and I don't
Nah,
mean
it's
to
okay.
interrupt, but I didn't know that was open.
You're
That's
cool.
okay. By the way, Life, are you still breaking up a little bit, or guys, is that just on my end?
No, I'm not breaking up. It's probably the TikTok broadcast.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, you can turn it back up. I'm sorry.
In the understanding of the Arabic, we go with the man of Allah, the apparent meaning, right?
Because it's live,
Until
so you know
there's
it's
a
probably
qarina, right? A
it's just
qarina
catching
is
whatever's
something
happening
which
there.
explains it either from the
That makes sense.
or from the understanding of the companions. If any of these things are present, then we take that definition rather than the apparent meaning.
Okay, so where do you get then that the word is not really thrown down or cast down, but it's conveyed, explained, or expressed like that? Where do you get that from?
That's the understanding of the verse of the Mufassirun.
Okay.
There's no Mufassir that says this means to throw down or cast down. I challenge you to find any
You
Mufassir that
said,
says that.
I heard what you said carefully. You said that if there's an apparent meaning, but you know, another verse that gives an explanation of the word or how it's used in that context, or even who breaks down how it's used in that context, then that's what you go with. So that's what I'm asking for. That's what do you have that another verse or?
His video cut out. Hunter,
Dang.
Really simple, even from just the Arabic language. That's number one.
Hunter,
Right. Whenever we
But
say
it's
is
what's happening?
that's number one.
Wait, AZ. That's where the flaw is, because it's
I don't know.
not a literal word. It's a person who's being
Oh, that's
identified
AZ.
as
That's
word.
AZ from
So
Clubhouse.
it's the person that's being.
No wonder he
Hunter,
sounded familiar.
being
Hunter,
cast down or
look at my name.
Oh my gosh.
It's true though.
Wait, what happened to the video?
He lagged out.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's something is wrong. I need to reset my modem, bro. I don't know if it's me or them or whatever. I need to go ahead and reset my modem, bro. This is bad.
If you want to
it's cut out way too many times today. So
okay.
Well, let me maybe I can share mine. Let me see.
We're gonna host. This is we're gonna take over the stream. We're gonna host it. If you need to reboot it.
How's that?
I'm good.
Choose one, I can choose another, and we don't.
You guys hear it?
Yeah.
I'm not the one choosing. Like for instance,
You guys
if
can't
I'm
hear
coming
that?
to
Why
try
can't
to
I hear
understand
it?
the
No,
verse which
we're
is in the
good. We
Bible,
can, bro. We
right,
can.
and I understand it the way
Can't.
I want to understand it. You tell me, hold on a
So
second.
you need 1,000
Either,
followers to
I don't
go up.
know. I don't know. One of these Orthodox will tell me, "Oh, hold on a second. Church fathers didn't understand it this way. Calm yourself down, mate." We say the same thing. We say if it's not been understood this way, then it
I
becomes an
can't hear
innovation.
anything. Why can't I hear anything?
So if it has not
I
been
hear it.
understood this way by anyone prior to me from the
I know y'all
Salaf,
do, but I can't hear anything.
like they say,
Maybe press
the good
Windows
speeches are
G
from the
again
people
to
of the
see if
Salaf, and the
that's
innovations
the
come
Yeah, I
from the
did.
ones who are Khalaf.
Did you select the right headphones?
Their understanding is the primary understanding.
Yeah,
We
because I
don't
can hear
do
you.
that.
Everybody else.
So
I just can't
if
hear y'all.
that's
Or
what
I
I'm
just can't
saying.
hear
one
this.
person, one person that actually says this does not mean convey, this means to throw
All right,
down,
hang
or
on,
to
real
cast
quick. I'm gonna
down,
have
or
to
anything
unshare,
along those
and then I'm
lines.
gonna
It doesn't have
reshare.
to be
Live, are you still
verbatim.
there?
I will take it. I'll put my hands up. I'll take it.
So
yo,
Yeah,
I'm
we
gonna
hear
have
you
to-
now.
Yeah, I don't know why it wasn't showing for me.
oh yeah, I don't
couldn't hear
know,
anything
man.
just now.
Today is weird, dude. I don't know why this is happening today. It's
Maybe
never
it's
happened.
Life,
go
we
buy
should,
an Ethernet cord and just connect it to the back of my computer.
Life, we should invite Avery here and bring them here. It's much easier.
That's
Avery's
that's why.
in the stream. He's in the stream. He's just on
Why
TikTok.
Has he been
Oh.
streaming for almost 10 hours?
Bro, I said that too. I was like, bro, there's no way. There's no way, bro.
Avery needs sleep, man.
Who?
Avery,
I'm gonna
he's been
text him. I'm
streaming
gonna
for
text
10
him and
hours.
ask him, has he really been
Hold on,
streaming that long?
share my screen real quick. Share my screen.
On YouTube?
No, on
TikTok.
10 out, bro.
Some tell him to get bed. Someone
I mean,
tell
we
him-
streamed. I mean, we streamed 10 hours on here before, but I mean, just it's still amazing. Like, are you serious?
No.
10
Nah,
hours straight.
10 is crazy. 10 is crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
I gotta break that up.
Hunter,
break
let's
it that
Hunter, let's do a 24-hour stream.
Heck no. No.
I would not survive.
I will survive. Anyways, can you share my
Yeah,
screen?
we're gonna need to do that with. We need to have intervals, bro.
Don't you
Oh wait,
think
I
we're
think I
all
know why I
lying?
couldn't hear. I'm an idiot.
Let's speak to one of the
So it's not even just
Pentecostals and then
100
the
people
Jehovah's
lying.
Witnesses and
It's a billion people.
Bro mentioned Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm out.
no, I'm talking about scholars, right? I'm talking about scholars.
Okay, so
I figured out why I couldn't hear.
over 100 scholars, over
So I'm guessing that wasn't mine that was lagging
100
then.
scholars believe in the
Yes,
Trinity.
Yeah,
Am I
but
lying?
it is.
No, that believe.
Someone bring Avery here. Someone just text him, say, just join our stream.
Right.
That's the main reason why I hate TikTok, though, is because I can't get alive if I don't have 1,000 followers.
I think
Yeah,
that's kind of dumb. That's
Well,
kinda
forget
dumb.
it. Oh well. I mean, if you guys have TikTok, you can go to TikTok and find it.
Yeah,
Doesn't
the
matter.
live connection is terrible on TikTok.
It's not good. Yeah,
Is it really?
that's weird.
I didn't know
Hunter,
that.
Hunter, we need.
No,
we
but
need to start-
he's in the back. If I bring him up, I don't think we'll be able to hear both at once.
Bro, he was chained. Oh, that was me.
What
I
happened?
was like, why can I hear it all of a sudden? No, he was changing all of our names earlier, and I was like, what is
I
going
know.
on with the
He was in the back.
Bro, he
just, he was in the back messing around.
he literally texted me. He's like, bro,
Companions,
look at Life's name right now.
That they get their understanding from the companions. So that's what I wanted to see if the companions give this understanding. I don't care what some label on top there says or whatever. I want to see where they get that.
Listen in.
Bro, that's so funny.
Oh, right. Okay, so like for example,
See,
'cause
we
I know
can't
that
even
Ibn
hear.
Kathir
We
will
can't even
quote
hear.
people
Is
who
it?
quote people, right? He'll quote people and stuff like that. He'll quote narration.
Yeah, we can hear it,
bro. The fact that he's just unmuted.
Right. So does Ibn Kathir when
Bro,
he
this
gives
is
his
great.
understanding, and I've read Ibn Kathir's tafsir on this. Does he give an understanding of a companion that it's conveyed?
Bro, that's so funny.
Hunter. Change
Okay,
his name.
let's
Change his name.
let's go through Ibn
I
Kathir's,
can't.
for example.
Only he
Let's
could do
see
that.
together.
Life. Time to change
Deal?
his name. Change it to watch the stream here. Watch the stream.
Let's find out. Wait, can I
TikTok
get there
short-
first?
Shortcut.
Goodness.
TikTok cheat. TikTok cheat.
I could barely hear him. I'll probably just go to TikTok.
Say, can I get there first? Jeez.
Trust me, bro. Trust me.
We
Bro.
can't even talk in there.
He is so funny though. He's like,
But
bro, can I
yeah,
get there first? Jeez.
My connection is terrible right now. I don't know what it is today, but it's not good. So I need to reboot. What in the world is going on? I cut out at least like 10 times during this whole stream.
Okay.
Literally internet disconnected and connected. So I'm gonna go ahead and figure that out.
I've good internet. I can screen share it.
No. I'm saying I'm about to I got stuff to do too. So
Right. Okay.
yeah,
I do too.
So man, I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys on the next one, man. Peace out.
Hunter, do you want to chat off stream?